Stuff, okay. Oh,
Well, the public was invited, but so far,
yes, but there's no one here, right? Just us.
maybe sick of meetings by this time.
Right, right.
All right, so 7:02 call to order. Same meeting procedures as always. The only difference with the administrative meeting, as I put in the agenda, we don't take any votes. So let's just be mindful of that. We can, obviously say we agree, we like, blah, blah, blah. But if it's something that we need to vote on, we'll have to bring it to a regular meeting. And I did not put time limits on the other discussion items because some of these I think we'll have to go through carefully, slowly, and I'm sorry. I just got a goofy message. Okay. And some things we'll probably speed through. So with that, is there anything that you guys saw on the agenda that I left off that you want to add? I mean, this is a very informal comparative to our regular meeting. So, Carol, you have your hand raised. And then Laura.
You're on mute, Carol.
Mute, Carol. Wait a minute, hang on. I'm going to send a message to say unmute. Oh, there you go.
No, she's still muted.
You're
Yeah.
on the bottom left of your screen.
Nope, there she is.
Sorry, I'm not very good at technology. I'm too old. Okay, so I'd like to amend tonight's agenda to have a brief discussion about the standing committees and to discuss having a separate meeting in the very near future to discuss the committees at length.
I thought I had committees on here. Okay, we can put that under ANC processes.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Laura?
Yeah, when I looked through the upcoming council action and the oversight process, DDOT wasn't highlighted. And when we get there, I do have some concerns. Just want to mention DDOT.
Okay.
On February 5th.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna go over all of them. Corinthia, then Peter.
I just want to follow up to the bank request, and I want to know if that can go before we get too further in the weeds. It should be less than 40
Let's put
seconds.
that under officers, where you have treasurer.
Okay.
Okay. Peter.
Yeah, two things that are may or may not be ongoing. Website redesign and go vote.
Can we add that, Peter, to the new engagement tool under public participation processes? That's what that is. Go vocal.
Okay,
You see?
and then the website.
Okay. So let's put that.
So the new commissioners know we have a contractor on board. I've sent around a mock-up of what the new website would look like. But there's a lot of work involved in editing it and being sure that the pieces are connected and that the machinery in the background works. So,
Okay, I added that under ANC processes.
Okay.
Bruce?
Yeah, I'd just like to talk about the order in which we take up these items. I know we'll spend a lot of time on some of them. For example, we could talk a lot about committee testimony, who would do that and how, but there are some things that are kind of urgent for us to decide. The format of our next meeting, hiring of an admin staff, even the web matter that Peter just raised in terms of how we go about doing any work currently on the web as it stands. So it's consensus here, not what Bruce says in terms of the order of these things, but I'm just suggesting that we try to focus on, for sure tonight, some things that we get resolved that will have practical implications for what we do tomorrow in the coming week.
And that's for sure. That work sharing and performance is number one.
Okay.
That is number one. And then we can drag stuff over. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So with that, the answer, yes, Bruce. Wherever we feel we need to go, that's where we can go. But
Excuse me for one, I just want to make sure you're keeping notes on the agenda so that you'll send it to me and I'll be able to do my secretary thing with that. What you're moving around on the agenda, are you making notes of that?
no, it's very informal. It's
Okay.
you don't need to I don't think worry about that on the admin meeting. I don't want to over formalize these meetings.
So I need to do minutes though, don't I?
Well, there's a recording, so you can copy the recording. You can go
Okay.
off the recording.
All right.
So let's get rolling though, because we at 7:08. In terms of upcoming council actions, really quickly, you guys got the schedule for performance oversight, and I don't think we need to really spend a lot of time. I'll just kind of give you the high level of it. I put pretty much the whole entire schedule on here. I think I copied all the agencies. I tried to highlight the ones that I think we might want to do testimony for. If there's some that are on here that are not highlighted, that's fine. The most important thing about performance oversight is somebody drafting the testimony. There are probably 6 or 7 agencies highlighted, and you can see we've already missed some. There is no way 1 or 2 people can draft these testimonies. ANC 34G has a tremendous history of doing performance oversight testimony. So if you want to draft testimony, I've drafted, Peter's drafted, I think Bruce has drafted, so returning commissioners have drafted. I think most of us, all 3 of us, have testified before. We will help you with that. You can go into our database of documents and actually pull old testimony. Also, remember, testimony does not have to be new. It could be something that we reiterated in the last performance oversight testimony. It can be, things. I'm still getting quotes or testimony from my single member district. I probably got 5 or 6 things today on bus transit. My listserv today was nuts with bus transit because the parents got really active on it about the kids going to school and being late. So I just put this here to make a plug to you all, new incoming commissioners included. If you want to draft oversight testimony, just go for it. Let us know what you want to do. The most important thing to remember, though, is that your testimony has to be approved at an ANC meeting. So if we got a hearing coming up on February 12th, and our next meeting is not till the 22nd, we've missed that opportunity unless we want to bring in or have another special meeting. But we cannot draft testimony and just email it and then go testify. It has to be voted on. So just keep that in mind. And that's not to say that we won't have a special meeting. I just want you to know the process and procedure. So performance oversight goes, as you can see, all the way through March. So we still have time, but not a lot of time. So just keep that in mind. Gosselin, then Nagy, then Finnessy.
Two things. One, to new commissioners, a plug for doing this. Besides representing your community, you become a player with that agency. They take this seriously, and they will more responsive to you if you're the voice for ANC 34G. So you do get something out of it. It's not just drudgery. A warning also. The district has yet to figure out a way to do performance testimony in a speaker-friendly way. So you often have to spend a whole day with the damn, thing online waiting for you to come up. And it's really
It's
incredible.
awful.
Yeah. And then a practical matter, I mean, I'm interested in testimony for Office of Planning. I don't see DemPed on this list. Are they?
You're on there.
They are where? I mean, are we in time to?
Oh God, I hope they weren't the February 5th falling under business and economic development. They might have.
That's bad.
Yep, it is.
Ah,
It
Well,
is.
Is it technically too late? Forgive me for being out of turn here, but is it too late still? We could get something in to DemPed if that's where it is.
It doesn't go to DemPed, it goes to the council.
Can we still?
I don't know. We have to look at when the last date they will accept testimony. Sometimes testimony can roll in like 30 days after. So like we'll further check, and I'll go online while we're talking to see what the date is for them. It might have fallen under there, but it just depends on what the council sets as a schedule.
just to point out, it's only 6 days away. February.
Yeah, I know.
We could have a special meeting. It could be a short meeting. It could be a 10-minute meeting.
Send the testimony around and then vote on it.
Right.
Violating.
Yes or no. I know.
But like, I'm confused because this DDOT meeting is February 5th. Does that mean that we've lost any opportunity to testify before DDOT? Can I testify as an individual then? Because that's really not fair to our community. We've got lots of sidewalk issues. We've got streetlight issues that all come under DDOT.
Yeah. So, yep, we have got to, that's why I'm putting the whole schedule out there. I mean, this is the first opportunity we've had to do an admin meeting and kind of discuss these issues. But yes, you can testify as a single member district commissioner. You just have to say that I'm testifying. So there's a little language. I'm testifying in my individual capacity as a commissioner. You can also testify as a resident. You could say I'm testifying as in my individual capacity as a resident of blah 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 blah. So we don't want to miss the opportunity as an ANC, because as Peter said, the ANC testimony is what carries the weight. The other thing when you testify is I've never testified where they haven't asked me in-depth questions. Never. I have never testified before this council where they just said, Commissioner Gore, thank you, and moved on. They always have come back to me. And I would say that, that's kind of I think one of the things this commission has always set itself up with great testimony and compelling testimony. We definitely, and that's how Peter said, that's how you get to know the council members. That's how to get to know their staff. They do follow up on this stuff. So, but in terms of like, if the date is, fast approaching, yes, we can have a special meeting. If you can get testimony drafted together. I think, those agencies are critical. DemPed, Office of Planning, Office of Zoning, WMATA is critical. DC Water. I mean, there's just so many things that's happened in the community that we can opine on. And the other thing I would say is for these rounds that are coming up quick, it doesn't have to be a book. I mean, sometimes our testimony, we can get very wordy in 3G. These are given, is it 3 minutes, Peter? 3 minutes on the ANCs, and I think 2 minutes individual.
I was going to say it's longer if you're an
So
ANC
you get a
commissioner.
little bit more time. And you can use, I mean, we can always talk testimony tips, but you can have your written testimony. And then when you're verbally testifying, it can be similar and you can touch on different things with it. So you have an opportunity to kind of, flex a little bit there. If you're testifying on behalf of the commission, it should be consistent. But I mean, if you throw in an example or two, that's not going to hurt anything. So Liz, did you say what you needed to say? Because your hand is raised.
Yeah,
Lori?
yeah, I was actually going to say that there's a different time frame if you're testifying as a commissioner, as I recall from listening to commissioners talk before I was one. So yeah, but I guess I do have a question. The Department of Behavioral Health, are they the folks who would have responsibility for the wraparound services that are not occurring?
And
Not in our, it's not exactly our ANC, but it does affect our
It
ANC.
is our ANC.
you know,
Well, that's true. It is. Yes, I take it back. It is. I mean, I think the big problems are a little further south, but yeah, you're right. It is our ANC.
We got big problems too.
That's true.
We got major problems on this avenue when it comes to that.
Liz, also services. These are the departments that should be providing services for voucher tenants in our big apartment buildings, and as a general proposition are not. So I agree with you that I think testimony, either one or both of them on this issue would be.
Yeah. I mean, look, I do have some apartment buildings in my SMD, but I think you guys have more.
And we also have new commissioners might not be aware, but the chairs along Connecticut Avenue. So myself, Courtney and my mind is slipping. The other chair down in
Cleveland Park.
Cleveland Park area. So three of us
Yeah.
wrote a letter to the
Yes.
council committees on housing and Janice's committee. So I think it was 3 committees total, and they agreed to have a hearing on this issue. So if somebody wanted to write testimony on that, you could actually just, reword that letter and put in examples. And then it would be great. So I do think this is one, hopefully we get somebody that'll want to tackle, because we should re-up our request that the committee chairs. The first one to respond was Robert White. And he immediately said, yeah, I'll give you your hearing, which is like really unheard of. So we need to probably, even if we submit, and again, like on the written testimony, we would have longer probably to submit that than if we testified in person. And they do read the written testimony, so they read them too.
Are you suggesting we skip the oral testimony and just submit written testimony? No. Okay. That we write the testimony and then we submit it in writing, basically in written format later. Does anybody want to do the behavioral one?
Yeah, Gosselin. So me and Peter have been taking it up. Me and Peter, you want to tag team on that, Peter?
I think, maybe Corinthia and I want to work on that. And with you, Liz, this is, for us, this is basically a Connecticut Avenue question. There aren't any apartment buildings back in the suburban parts of our ward.
Well, hang on a minute. I know they're not, but I've been working on this issue for about 2 or 3 years. So I'm not backing out of the issue. If you guys want to take on the testimony, take it on. But I'm still going to be on that issue because I've been on it for like 3 years.
Fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
Someone's got to write who wants to take the lead on writing the testimony?
I can't take lead on it.
Okay. Peter, do you want to do it?
Can I intervene just to say that if we go through this for every committee, we'll be here all night. So if we could just look at these and then come back and share via email our interest. I don't mean to cut you off, Laura. I'm just not noting that this is the thing, that it'd take us all night to sort this out.
Yeah, mine's just with the February 5th one for DDOT, it's time sensitive. So is my only option at this point to testify as a single member commissioner?
We could violate the 7-day notice again, and have
No.
in the next, and find out tomorrow when the deadline for turning it in is. We could do that. I mean, I think realistically, we got a long 2 years ahead of us. We got a lot of stuff.
No, I don't want to violate it. I can just do it as mine, but like, I know for me, it's going to be streetlights and sidewalk repair. But like bioretention also comes under that. So if anybody wants to say anything about bioretention, you know, you either let me know or you do your own.
So just to let you know, I'm at the website of the Committee on Business and Economic Development. I'm at the registration to testify page. And they indicate, of course, the hearing is this particular committee, not DDOT, Laura. This concerns DEMPED. Is, as we've noted, February 5th, 9:30 a.m., but the registration form is still up. So presumably anyone could go ahead, and there are 66 people who have already agreed to testify. So anyone who wants to do this could go ahead and sign up, and I'm perfectly happy to do a 10-minute special meeting to authorize official testimony, or we can do it individually.
Right. What is the last day to submit written testimony? Does it say?
It doesn't say, unfortunately.
Okay.
Usually
Yeah,
it's
I
a
would
day or
think-
so after the hearing.
I would suggest commissioners to go through the list and maybe by this weekend circulate an email, and I'll start it off with the agencies that you'd like to see, and then we can chime in who wants to take the lead, and we might be able to do one special meeting and cover 5 or 6 testimonies.
Yeah.
So we might be able to bulk it like that, which is fine. And again, if everybody just kind of helps and pitches in, we could probably cover a lot more testimony than we have. And just to say, this happens every commission year, because when we have new commissioners, this is really tough because performance oversight begins in January, and you guys have just gotten sworn in. So there's really little time to get performance oversight kind of solidified, especially, when you have a turnover during election year of commissioners. It's really tough. So I would say that we could probably do it that way and figure out, where we stand after that. Peter Gosselin?
I just suggest that if there are things that you think we ought to testify on, and just in this next couple of weeks where we have this time crunch, why don't one of us, Bruce, you might just do it right now since you're online for DEMPED, just put in to testify. If we end up testifying on behalf of the committee, on behalf of the full commission, fine. But like we're under the wire if we get something in on their roster of testimony. Does that make sense, Lisa?
No.
Well, I mean, we got 5 hoops to jump through before.
I know. Let's give it to this weekend. I mean, my fear is we put our name on a testimony list and we are a no-show, and I don't like that look for us. We've never done that. Okay, does that sound okay, commissioners, on the performance oversight? By this weekend, we try to get in which ones we want to do.
Yeah, and I just put mine in the chat if y'all want to look at it now.
I saw it.
So you'll see it.
Okay.
So why don't we set a time this weekend? Because like 5 o'clock on Sunday or something like that.
That's cool.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then just as a heads up, early heads up, we go through the same process with budget oversight. So budget oversight gives the ANC, and I put a link in the agenda to my FY 2024 or the commission's FY 2024 budget letter. So, the budget flows down, it gets to the mayor, and then she does her things with the agencies and issues a budget. we want to influence the budget process at the council level. So we want to tell our council members what we want for our ANC in terms of budget. And if you go through my letter, you'll see exactly what I mean. And I organized it by council committee. So that's how I tried to do it. But it's all kinds of stuff. It's street, traffic control, Barnaby Woods flooding. The other thing I want you guys to do, and please promise me you'll do this, I want you guys to go and dig up each council member's budget letter. And I want you guys to pay attention to what you see in there for Chevy Chase. And then you'll see why I stress this budget letter, because there's not a lot. And we have a lot of needs, whether that is bus or streets or whatever. We don't get a lot of mention. So we got to, I take that budget letter really seriously. So just I know we got a lot to do, but just a little homework right there. Look at what your council members are putting in their budget requests for our area.
Laura has a question first. Sorry.
Yeah.
When do their budget letters come out? Are you thinking we should go back and looking at last year's?
Oh, I would go back to a couple of years, but they usually come out. They probably will be releasing them fairly soon, February, probably around late February, because she does her budget in, I believe, in April. Early April, I think the mayor tries to send out her budget. So you want to do it, and we should be meeting. We should have a meeting once we do our budget letter. We should be like, Fruman, Janice, let's have a meeting and discuss our budget needs. So you want to try to influence their letter. So think about getting ahead of them by getting our letter out to them before they put their letter out to the mayor. Because if they're not thinking about our budget, and Fruman just had a budget meeting with Ward 3. I attended that. That was last weekend. So he's already prepping. I don't know what Janice is doing. She doesn't typically have budget meetings. But they're all probably going to come out sometimes in February.
Would you say we look at your letter, and then if we see, because so many of these things are still issues, like when I just skimmed through it, like the Lafayette Pointer Field, it's just worse.
Yep.
For example, so we may not need to reinvent the wheel here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So I hate to throw all that on you guys, but these are the kind of things that, I know we have a lot of community issues and projects and all that stuff, but the performance and the budget oversight, that's really critical for us to, keep advocating for our community, and that will impact. So we have to think about, when we're doing our agenda, getting these things on that portion of the agenda as well. Okay. So I'll try to pin down some dates. I'll email both council members and say, when's your letter coming out? So maybe if they could give us, a specific date, we can be prepared for that in advance. Okay, Bruce, we're on to the real stuff.
Oh, good.
Bruce is get moving.
Good.
Okay, so this is a really important part, and we can, feel free if you guys see that I have something on the back half on the agenda that you want to pull into this section, but we really do need to make sure that the officer responsibilities and commissioner responsibilities are flushed out, and that we've done a good transition. So, and then just to kind of make sure everybody understands what everybody is doing. So when we get to each officer, Corinthia, you mentioned your report, feel free to add in here. Liz, if you have questions on secretary or something that seems off, add it into your part. In terms of me for chair, it's pretty what it is, convening the meetings, and in convening meetings, being responsible for the decorum, making sure that we're following the agenda, parliamentary procedures are really important because those come up quite a bit. And then fairness. One of the things that I really appreciate, let me just start by saying with Laura working with me on timing and, trying to stick to a time frame. And I think it's going to take all of us, which then the community will also, I think, follow along with just making sure we do the best we can with sticking to those timeframes. We had a tremendous problem with that in the last commission. And, sometimes a chair, and that's regardless of who it is, might say time is up. And then you got another commissioner that just wants to keep on talking. And, it makes it difficult because then you're in a position of, you don't want to embarrass people. You don't want to get people upset. And you hope people follow the rules, but sometimes they don't. But with this term, I'm really going to push us to those time limits, including myself, and the decorum rules. So one thing I definitely want to just kind of state is if we don't respect each other, our community is not going to respect us. And if we come at each other, the community is going to feel like they can come at us. And sometimes you're sitting on a side of an issue where the community is like, we love you, you're doing great. And then sometimes you're sitting on the side of the issue where the community thinks you suck. And you don't want to encourage in any way, shape, or form the community having a sentiment that it's okay to come after commissioners or other people. But if they see that in us, they're going to model our behavior. So I think on a commission, we have to model the behavior that we want everybody else to model. And I'm going to, interject if I think that's not occurring, to get us back on track and to make sure that we're conducting a business. This is a business meeting. I mean, I look at this as not like, a chat session. This is a business meeting where we're conducting the business of the community. So let's just all keep that in mind. In terms of developing the agenda, I'll do it the same way. Hopefully you guys can chime in, let me know if it worked for you, but I'm gonna try to get off the Google document. One of the things I wanted to ask folks is if everyone had access to the OneDrive, because what I would like to do is put those agendas up there historically. So like I have a folder for each year of agendas, but I think that should reside with the commission so that when people come in transitioning, you could go to January, first meeting in January, see a copy of the agenda and see the mandatory things that you have to do. But everybody would need, and I think it's easier in the OneDrive because you can go in and edit and add to it. And the access is, better in terms of actually working through a document.
Well, I don't have that. Who has access? I don't have access. I tried to fiddle around and see if I could find it. And
okay, so we can send out the link to it, and to access it, it's the same as your email address and password. So if you
I actually have a little issue with that, and that is that when the agenda, the draft agenda needs to stay the same until the meeting when people can move to change it. So when you say that people can go in and make a bunch of changes, at some point it has to become a final draft until the meeting when people can move to add, whatever. So I'd like to look into how that's going to work.
yes, same way we did it
my
on
responsibility.
Same way that we did it on the Google document. So if people want to say, I have 3 things on the agenda and somebody wants to add something else, I prefer them to go in and add it on the draft agenda. Some people sent me emails and I transferred that to the agenda. That also works as well. And then that gives me an opportunity to look at it, play with it, the time, see if we can get it in there, we can't get it in, and come up with a document that I could send to you guys in terms of a suggested agenda. But it's just a way to make sure that everybody has an opportunity if they have something that they want added, that I don't miss it, they don't miss it, it's there, they can pop it in there, and I'll do all the final stuff on the agenda. And share it with the commissioners.
Could I share my screen for a second with what I've been able to see on the OneDrive that might answer Liz's question?
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I can, if you're the host, can you allow me to share screen?
Yeah, let me figure it out. There you go.
Okay. Let's see if it's enabled now. Okay. So I should be able to. All right. Let's see if you can see if you can see this screen. Can you see my whole screen here?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I move this over here, this is the document that is in the OneDrive. I went to the mail. This is my ANC mailbox. And you see this little cloud over here right under the check.
Mhm.
And so when I click on that, it says go to OneDrive for business. And then it opens up all the documents that are there that I own. But I think I could also browse by other people. I'm not sure. This is what I see.
Right.
In my home.
Scared.
Yeah. And then like there's one that Corinthia owns. And then if I go to a document that's on the share drive, I go click under the share over here in the top right.
Mm-hmm.
And then under manage access, then it comes up. So it's similar to Google where I can click on that person. And so let's say I want Lisa to be able to look at it. I can click on Lisa, then I can go here where the pencil is, and I can say, okay, she can edit it. She can review, suggest changes, can view, not make changes. That review might be what you're looking for, Liz. And then you choose that so they can review it and suggest things, but they can't change it. And then you click grant access and they should have it. I thought this may be what you're thinking will work. I don't know.
I need to go in and
Laura, can you go back? Can you go back to sharing?
Yeah, let me share again. Hold on a second. Okay.
I just wanted you, if you could go back to where you show everyone where the OneDrive is.
Okay, so I went under my mail
Okay.
for my ANC email, and then you see this check here, the to-do list. And then here's the cloud looking thing. And I clicked on the cloud and it says go to OneDrive for business. And then it opens up, I've got it open twice up here, but it opens up a window like this.
But Laura,
I just wanted,
Hang on, Peter.
I wanted,
go ahead, Corinthia. I'm sorry.
Laura, since you had this up, I just wanted to show the rest of the commissioners. If you click those 9 dots up at the left upper hand corner, those show the apps that we have. If you click more apps, that's at the bottom. Just so you guys know, I know everyone is big on SurveyMonkey, but if you go in here, we have access to click on apps.
You want the app? So you,
the arrow that says all apps.
On the right, go over.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm looking on the left.
So if you click here, we have forms. This is like paid a part of the Microsoft suite. So that is a survey mechanism. So I just wanted to show you guys that. And when you utilize this forms, you can tailor it to where only one person can respond to a survey. You can make it anonymous. So just wanted to show you guys that when you create your forms, or your surveys, they'll be in here. So just want to show you that we have access to a survey mechanism that's already included and free with our Microsoft apps.
So pretty cool. And it looks like, oh, I love Likert scales where you go like high to low.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me go to
sorry.
Peter Jocelyn.
Oh my gosh, those are very,
Love
very
Likert
exciting.
scale.
All right.
We can't keep going on this, although a tech support meeting would be very helpful for me. I have now found this on mine. The problem is that all I have, is anywhere on OneDrive, is there something that we all see? Because what I see is actually the only thing under my name are two bills from July of last year. Had two invoices. I mean, so where is the thing that that we all see? So if Lisa did a draft of an agenda, we could all see it, and we could go through some of the machinations you've just described to add our 2 cents. But I don't see anything that looks common to all of us. I've collected people. I've collected meetings. Just don't know why I have invoices here.
I'm going to share for a second. I think what you may have to do is click under shared, and it might need to be shared with you. And so if documents were created earlier and not shared with you, you may not have access to them.
Right,
So
well, figure this out later, but I just point out that right now,
yeah.
what I find in this going down this rabbit hole is peculiar stuff and nothing that has me connected to any of the rest of you. So that's a problem if we're supposed
Okay.
We can
Yes.
help you
Yeah.
get there, Peter.
to. Fine.
Okay. There's a ton of stuff in here under QFR documents.
So those are the documents that OANC has set up folders for the commission. Those are the yeah, like all the QFRs, all the financial stuff. There's budget. There's a ton of stuff under there.
So that's all correct. Corinthia's taken.
Yeah.
She'll know that one.
We need to get, start using a OneDrive.
Okay.
So then other stuff, just, the Zoom meeting links, following up on commissioner access, other things, follow up on council hearings and legislation. So I just did the schedules for performance and budget oversight, also agency databases. So make sure, guys, you got your TOPS, your ICEs, all the agency databases that you need. I see you shaking your head, Laura.
Yeah, I need to know more about that.
Okay, I'll send around a separate email on those. Let me make a check mark. Because that's critical, because you'll get, like, we're party status to, like, say zoning cases and things like that. You don't have to do resolution. We got so convoluted in the last term. You don't have to do resolutions for that. We can take a vote. Everybody votes. Then a commissioner goes in, fills out the form. There's a form letter. For one of the cases, you fill out the form letter, you check the commission action, chair signs it, you upload it to the case, and you can go in the case and select the action and be done. And everything is like in the case. But one of the things that I've definitely come across is sometimes commissioners have never gone into the system and they don't know how to get in there, and they're like, I got to get the case in today. So usually, I will help them out. I will not name the commissioner that was the worst offender in the last term, but we had one. So Bruce has access to, I think, everything too. I know Peter does. So the old commissioners, we all three, we're really good with keeping up our access. So you guys are lucky that you got us, because we follow the rules. Also,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Actually, under your responsibilities, it says ANC-wide emails and notices.
Yep,
So-
I'll get there. Let me get
Okay,
there.
not there yet?
Nope.
Okay,
So annual report. I also work on the annual report. I got an email from Kent on the 2024 and 2023. I'm still working on those. Those reports, oh God, some ANC's annual reports are like 30, 40 pages long. So what I want to do this year is more of a protocol, so that we're working on that report as we go. Corinthia, I'm going to ask you to help me with the 23 financial section. I did the financial section this year by myself. I had no access. It was painful as hell. But we all, especially officers, got to pull some more weight on the annual report. I did send it off to Zach, and Zach said it was okay, but I'm gonna send it to you, the financial section. And if you would just do me the favor of double checking it with the 24, because I don't have access to the financial portal, just, the treasurer has that access. So if you could go check my numbers and make
I
sure
can do it, but I forwarded to you and Liz the access that
okay. All right.
it was in the email Don asked me to send to you guys. That's like
Okay.
this email. And when you go in there, it's the access. You can still send it to me for the
All right,
financial.
I'm gonna keep you, and then what you can also look at it for, Corinthia, is for 25 reporting. If there's anything, because you're supposed to put your allotments, there's certain things that you got to hit in that report. If you can look at it, and then if there's anything you think that needs to be in terms of transparency wise that we need to include in the financial section going forward, that would be really helpful. ANC wide email. So we also have, and I know commissioners, a couple of you guys have asked for the emails off of the I can't even think of the name, the ANC email database list. It's like Wix, but it's not Wix. I can't think of what it's not
Constituent emails?
Constant Contact. It's one of those databases. It's an email database. But at any rate, it's about 1,500 or so. And I normally send out, just like I do an SMD email, I do a ANC wide email. So just keep in mind we have that. I don't think we've ever made good use of it. It's great. We send out, things to our single member district, but we also have people that are on that ANC email that aren't signed up for a single member district email. So it helps to send out a blast to that group of folks too. And that's, probably the biggest list that we have. And I am still going to send you all that email dump so that you can go through there, parse out the names that you might recognize from your single member district. And I don't think a lot of them have the single member district listed. I tried to make a column for that, but that was really late in the process because this list has been generated for terms. But if we could all clean it up, and like if you find people on there that don't have an SMD listed, but that's your SMD, if you could get that back to me, what I would like to do is to be able to parse that list. So if like someone comes in and says, I want all the emails from single member district 06, I can sort, hit, and send. And it could be like a major project going on in that district that we could, draft an email to those folks particular. So the cleaner we get it, the better. So that's what that is meant in terms of ANC wide emails and notices. Liz, I know you had a question on that.
Yeah. So where does that database reside? Where is it?
So that's what I just said. I cannot think of the name of it, but
But,
you've heard
I
of
mean-
Constant Contact, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, who has access to it?
I do.
And can we all have access to it?
I don't care who has access to it. If you want access to anything, Liz, you can have it. If you want to go in there and be responsible for it, you can also be responsible.
I would just like to be able to download it so that I can sort through
I
it.
will give you, please do that. Download, go in there, do what you want, and say, because I don't have time.
Will you send me the
I
link to
sure
be able
will.
to do that?
I sure will.
Please send
That
it
would be
to me as
awesome.
well.
Thank you.
Please send it to me as well.
Yeah. Just please don't delete nothing in there.
No. I'm just gonna make a copy of it. I'm not gonna mess with the database. I just would like to download a copy of it so that I can use it, massage it, try to figure out what's going on in it.
Okay.
Thank
Gosselin, then Sherman.
I just say, I do think we all have to work to hit the high points here. Because of my medical condition, I'm not going to last through this discussion if it moves at this pace. So I hope we get quickly through these other three, and then I think Bruce is right. We need to talk about meeting locations, and I think Lisa, you're right. We need to talk about a new format, given we're losing our tech person. And God, it would be great if we could get an assistant on board. So anyways, just my suggestion, we try to stay a little more high level and get.
Okay.
Bruce?
This is 30 seconds. I love the fact that you've got 1,500 email addresses. So one thing I want to propose to all of you is at a separate time, an engagement strategy that targets, I'm going to put out a very ambitious goal, 5,000 by the end of this 2-year term set of contacts across our ANC that we actively engage through individual newsletters that we do in SMDs, communications that you're just talking about, Lisa, to the ANC as a whole. But we target that and we expand this universe of people that we're regularly in touch with. So I'll just park that there, but I love that fact. And if I have access to that, I will go into my database and figure out the people on your list that are on my list, and I can identify.
That's what we need, Bruce. And I honestly don't have time to do it. I do not have time to do it. So whoever wants to take that on, God bless, because I just cannot do it.
So
Well, we all have the Board of Elections roles that we can cross-check. And if anyone is interested in this, some of you have already done this. We've converted a long time ago the Board of Election roles, the spreadsheet, into a CRM, a relationship database, so that all of the contacts in my SMD are in a database that we routinely use for our email mailings, for a million and one different things. But that means that I can very quickly check. Well, quickly. I mean, we can do it, take some time, right? But I can check across the list you have, the ones that are in my SMD. So happy to do that.
Thank you. Laura? You're on mute.
Sorry, when is the annual report due, and does it include comments on performance of agencies that we might be able to pull from the testimony? Is that part of our annual report?
You know what? We can do that because it does talk about, there's like a section in terms of like we have to list our resolutions, letters, all the agency contacts. And that's why they get so long, meetings. And I've definitely seen, and I'll send you guys a link to one that I think is just superb, where they do comment on agency actions. There was one ANC that absolutely tore Office of ANC like a new one. So they can get very, get very, very detailed. So yes.
And what's the time frame for that one?
They're due in December.
Okay.
But we're still, they don't enforce it. They are starting to enforce it because we are behind. Like most ANCs are behind by a couple of years on these reports. It's just, it's tough to get them all in. But I'll send you guys a link, and then that way you can see. Yeah.
Okay. And I put in the chat, WABA and Greater Washington have some good trainings on how to attend and participate in oversight hearings. And even if you don't agree with their positions, their training is actually pretty helpful.
Have good training. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll move on from me. That's pretty much what I'm doing and working on globally. Vice chair, so Bruce, webmaster, traditionally vice chair, meeting setups, and I know this is probably going to change, posting on YouTube, and following up on commission actions, and obviously fulfilling obligations of the chair in their absence. Right. Anything that we're missing out of that list?
No, we, of course, when we get the new web design, we can take a look at, and with our admin assistant, we can take a look at, of course, the admin assistant helping on being our webmaster, updating the web and adding information to it. But happy to do that in the meantime. The other thing that I'd like to add to the vice chair's responsibilities are, as I was just referring to, helping our commission in terms of our engagement of constituents. So if you put me down for that, it's a complex undertaking, which we can talk about later. But I really would like to lead the charge on that.
Okay.
Lisa.
Peter, yep.
I hope I play a role in that too, since I've been involved with the Go Vocal work. And to the extent that we continue to have, or we discover yet again, as we did during the last term, that people want in-person meetings. I have played the role of trying to find locations. Now, I know that the community center library is an awful location, but to the extent that we want to have it in our back pocket, that's a job that I've taken on, and I hope Bruce takes on. The easiest way to do it is to grind through the bureaucracy and get all the permits for all the meetings. We can always call off a permit, but I would just say, when we get to the discussion of all virtual meetings, which I see on the next page, we were all virtual for our first term, Lisa, and we were all virtual for part of the last term, and we came under intense pressure to get in person. And I completely understand the desire to go back to virtual because it's technologically so much simpler. But just be aware that there are a lot of people in this community who want to face off with you as a commissioner. And this is not an endorsement of doing it at the community center, although when we went back to in person, we looked at lots of other places, and there were lots of places that would say, we can take you for a bunch of times. We can't always commit to Monday from X time to X time, because we got janitorial staff, we got da-da-da-da. So it's just an issue. And my suggestion on that is, at first, that whole issue is with the vice chair. And secondly, that we, just as a fallback, file all those things with the damn DPR through the incredibly bureaucratic DPR system.
Okay.
Let's take this up when we get to the meeting then. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this will have to, yeah, we can take this one up at a meeting. Laura?
I mean, when we talk about the format of the meetings, which is on the schedule tonight. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Laura?
No.
You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I just typed in the chat. I've been a constituent with DPR and the last couple of meetings after the March meeting at Lafayette School, where, as you said, they got torn a new one by their active constituents. They have refused to meet with us in person, and they do it virtually, and they shut down. They won't answer the hard questions. They won't let people talk. They only take it from the chat, and it's very limiting and disengaging. I think, on the other hand, when it's really informative stuff and it's not really, we're just trying to get information, like the Zoom about the zoning, I thought that was extremely efficient and helpful.
Okay, anything else under vice chair? Bruce?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Secretary. So Liz, preparation of minutes, distribution of the minutes to the commissioners, and this is both statutory and historical. Commissioners and Office of ANC, notice meetings, board written agendas, minutes, and recommendations to ONC. So the one thing that is probably distributed that I would like to go under your role as secretary is the notification of meetings, which is statutorily under the secretary.
Can you define what you mean by that? Can you like?
So you would post the meetings. So you would do
Where?
so the listserv, where we currently post, Chevy Chase listserv.
I don't know that I agree with that interpretation. I agree that it's my responsibility. I don't agree that I actually mechanically have to do it. I agree. If we have an admin person, they can do it, and I just have to make sure that it's done. That's how I read that.
Well, that's fine, but we don't
Is
have.
that good? Yeah, I'm good with that.
We don't have.
What I'm not good with is the idea that it must be me who actually posts it. I need to make sure that it's done, and I will. So we're good?
No.
No, we're not good?
No, because the statute doesn't, I don't
Let
interpret.
me
the
get my
statute.
copy of the handbook. Hang on. You want to read while I look? Go for it.
Yeah, I gotta find it.
Yep.
I just
no,
have a question. How would this be any different posting when you post about like DC Water or other announcements on behalf of the commission? I guess
I did that voluntarily, Corinthia. That's not my job.
But it's the minutes that's your job. So I guess I'm just trying.
I interpret it as my job to make sure the minutes get posted. I don't know that I need to be the one to post them. I just need to make sure that they do get posted.
Well, let me just ask this, Liz. Who in the community is going to do it?
Well,
If it's your job to make sure that it gets done.
we've been talking about getting an admin person, and I don't see
I
why.
get it, but we don't have an admin right now.
Yes, and until
So
then,
it's going to
until
be
then,
one of the 7 people on this call. Who's going to do it?
I think Bruce has offered to help out with that. I'm happy to do it, but I'm not happy to do it for 2 years. I would like to have an admin person on board so that they can do this kind of.
We're going to get to that discussion. And I
Okay.
completely agree. I wanted an admin person 2 years ago. I could have
I
worked more vacations and had more free time, but we don't have one yet. So, and that's
And
why
then I just said that Bruce has agreed to help out. I'm willing to do it, but I don't want that to interfere in any way, shape, or form with how expeditiously we move to get an admin person.
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's
Okay.
neither here nor there. Bruce, your comment.
I'll do it. It is in statute for the secretary. Liz and I have talked about this previously. I'll do it until we get an admin assistant.
Okay. Peter Gosselin. You're on mute, Peter.
This is addressed to you, Liz. This is a little voluntary board. There are loads of tasks that are not pleasant. I mean, I'm almost 75 and I go set up the chairs at the meeting. I
I
mean,
know, and you shouldn't have to do that. I understand what you think. Yep.
so I do hope that standing on Robert's rules doesn't interfere with our actually getting us going, continuing to go forward.
This is not Robert's rules. I want to make this very clear.
No,
this
it's
is
the
under
ANC
DC
handbook.
statutes.
Right.
And we often talk about the statute. That's been coming up quite a bit. So if we're not going to follow, we're not going to follow.
Well, with respect, I mean, statutes are meant to be interpreted.
Okay.
I've been
So we're
doing
going
that for the last 40 years of my life. I've been interpreting statutes.
Okay.
So, I mean, is
You
this
said
is this the sword you guys want to fall on? Really?
you said the operative word, open
What's
to
that?
interpretation.
Yes, it's open to interpretation, but I
Okay.
have my interpretation and you have yours. I guess I could ask ONC for their interpretation, but is this really worth it?
I
That's
think
up to
just
you. Bruce,
regardless, this is a volunteer organization. We all have to like help out.
Cynthia, I sent you the minutes at 11:45 last night.
I
You
really
think I'm helping
appreciate
out?
it.
Okay,
I appreciate
so
it.
I don't need to be chastised about whether I help out enough.
we have a solution. Bruce said he's going to do it. So Bruce, I will send you the Facebook password because remember it's Chevy Chase listserv.
Right. I'm on Chevy Chase Chatter, so I can post there.
See, I'm not on
Just giving you
Facebook.
everything. It's Chevy Chase listserv,
Right.
Chevy Chase Chatter,
Right.
next door,
And
the ANC Facebook account, and the Google. We post on the Google group. So it's 6.
Chase Google group, right?
Right, 6 locations.
Okay.
I'm missing one, Lisa. Listserv, Chevy Chase Chatter, next door, ANC Facebook, that's 4,
The Chevy Chase Google group.
and that's 5. So there were 6, right?
Lisa, I'll double back to you and make sure I got all these things right.
Okay, why don't we, yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bruce.
Treasurer, Corinthia, you have pretty much everything QFR, the budget reports, annual budget. What I would recommend is like you bring it in that annual budget, maybe every time you do a budget report to just let us know where we're lined up. If we get an administrative assistant, we're going to have to redo our budget because we did not put any money under personnel. You liaison with the bank, so I did sign a signature card today. bill payments and setups. One of the things that we need to work on immediately is make sure all these bills are under the. I know Zach had some stuff, I think, under him he was paying. We just got to make sure we get all this stuff consolidated and put it under 3G. And
Yeah, I need to know what the bills are because I got Zach's debit card canceled today. So if
Okay.
anything is on auto pay, it needs to be updated.
what was on his debit card?
I'm not sure. I was just saying his debit card was canceled today. So I don't know if you guys may have had any reoccurring payments or anything. I have to check on that.
Did he? So he told you his personal debit card was canceled today?
No. I took it to the bank.
Zach had a debit card for the ANC and that debit card was canceled. That's what you're saying, Corinthia?
Yes. So if
Yeah.
there's anything on the debit card that was on Zach's, let me know. I have my own debit card.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
okay.
I can't let you know.
Okay.
Because
Well,
Zach
I'll just
shared that information. So
I'll just check.
yeah, and it
Okay.
should be whatever bills. I mean, I can't tell you what he had connected to that.
You must have GoDaddy. You must have had some of those basic things like that run our GoDaddy and the WordPress. You got to get that from him, Corinthia, because we had a few.
I have it. I'll touch base with Zach. I'm just saying, I don't know if you knew, hey, the GoDaddy is on auto pay.
Yeah,
Just let me know. Okay, so you don't know. That's fine.
I can't even right now think of. I'm so tired. I can't think of what we are paying. I can't.
Okay, I have information from Zach. Just wanted to inform you guys of that. The next thing is Louise keeps calling me to get paid. So thank Liz for getting the minutes finished because I cannot write him a check until everyone has signed. So I just want to follow up and see when you all intend to sign. He's reached out to me 3 times since Monday. I believe there is a previous setup that I'm not doing. So Bruce, Liz, let me know when you plan to go to the bank and become a signer so that I can sign the check. And since Lisa is leaving Sunday, Liz or Bruce needs to be the second signer on the check to Louise.
So, oh, I see. But okay, I was actually going to ask you about that. Why all 4 of us have to sign at the bank?
So if you recall on the call with Dawn, she stated that when we have bills to be paid, 2 people need to sign. And if it's really hard to get 2 people, so Lisa's leaving, so it like leaves us down to 3 people. Hypothetically, if it was a check for me, then Lisa will be gone. I can't sign a check for myself. So then that leaves you and Bruce.
Yes.
So she asked for us to have 4 signers, the 4 officers.
I didn't
so that
remember
we
the
can
4.
Continue the
Thank
business.
you for clarifying. I didn't remember the 4.
Always been 4. And when you go to the bank, you'll see the cover letter. It's all 4. The bank requires 4.
The PNC Bank on Connecticut Avenue, that
Yep.
one?
I just
Are they
looked
open on Saturdays?
3 hours ago. So ask for Bernard. If Bernard is not there,
Any banker can do it. And I
banker
sent
can
the
help
card.
yeah,
Mhm.
tell them it's a business account and the document was located in that back room. They're keeping it on the back room in the table because they know we're trickling in. So
Okay, are they open on Saturdays? Do you know?
Yeah.
most
Yeah, they're open
are.
on Saturday.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Peter, you had your hand up. Did you have your hand up, Peter?
No, I was just gonna weigh in explaining to Liz why everybody needed to have signing power, but
So Bruce and Liz, if you can just let me know once you do that, then I'll try and link up with one of you to sign the check.
I'll go
I'll try to-
tomorrow. I'll go tomorrow morning, and if you want to meet at the bank, we could do it, and we could sign it right then, or whatever works for you, Corinthia.
Cool. I'll also try to get in there tomorrow and do it. So
I need both
you'll
of
be
them
well
for in
covered.
here to sign.
I just need one.
Are you so you're signing?
Yeah, I just can't sign for a check for myself.
Okay. All right. Anything else under treasure?
No.
You got everything you need? Okay.
If not, we'll find out.
Okay. And then just real quick under commissioner responsibility, single member district issues, obviously. Only thing I'll bring up under use of letterhead and equipment is just remember official letterhead is when the ANC votes on something and agrees that it's going out on official letterhead, not to be used for single member district stuff. Also remember the office equipment is the ANC's equipment, it's government equipment. So don't use it for personal clubs. And
What's the office equipment?
Huh?
What's the office
We-
equipment?
Well, we got
We got a lot. We
gotta-
have a lot. If y'all haven't been to the office, there's a computer, there's printers, I don't want to go over all that stuff on the thing because I'm very skittish about stuff like that.
Can I just
But-
ask you? Sorry, go ahead.
A minute. I recently went in there and cleaned the office as thoroughly as I could clean it. I hope y'all put the equipment back so people could walk into the office because I stacked it very neatly so that people could get in there and actually use it. But there is equipment. There's a brand new computer in there. With one of the things we're going to have to do when the administrative assistant comes in, we're going to have to start doing property receipts. We're going to have to make sure that we have our property documented because at some point, some of this equipment is going to have to go back to the district.
Right.
There's things in there that we need to probably start getting back to the district now, but just be mindful that that equipment is government equipment. That's the only thing. Bruce, Carol, then Liz.
There are lots of sort of informal responsibilities, I think that we're aware of. Lisa, you're typically kind of a informal point of contact when the city reaches out to our commission. So you're liaising with the city, separate apart from any individual initiatives that we undertake as commissioners to reach out to government agencies and so forth. Also, in terms of how our commission interacts with committees. There are contact people potentially within the commission who are responsible for dealing with committees. And when they reach out to the commission, whom are they reaching out to? And what guidance and direction do we give other than through our meetings? So it will happen over time as we go through our normal course of business that we might have to talk about how certain things are handled. We have to do it tonight. But
Right.
just want to just be mindful that there are lots of informal things that happen that we're not covering tonight.
Absolutely. Carol?
Yeah, hi. So regarding single member district issues, so this is really important to me, and I would really like some help with this. I think it would benefit all of us. So I really need an updated, really, really good government liaison list. I need to know who the best people are to contact when my constituents come to me with a problem. And I have some old list that was circulated by Michael Zeldin. And I don't know, I looked at some of the names on there and they don't look like the top people to contact. So what I was wondering is if we could, as an ANC, pool our own shared list of key contacts in all the various agencies so that have proven to be the most helpful in each category, so that when each of us has a constituent problem, we immediately can go to the best person, for DDOT or for, parks or whatever, Is that possible? Would everybody be willing to share their best contacts for all these things? For example, I had to contact Lisa the other day because a woman in my district contacted me about the pool at former Wilson Pool.
Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson, right. And I don't know who to go to for that.
So Carol, let me ask you one question. I think the answer is yes, we can do that. But I want to ask you, do you have the 2025 ANC liaison list that was sent out by Office of ANC? Because I sent that to everyone maybe about 2 weeks ago.
Well, I guess I missed that.
Okay, just Google OANC. I think it's called OANC liaison list.
Yeah.
But let me say something about that list. So that goes into your question. That is a good list and they update it every year.
Mhm.
But we do have people that are our go-to people.
Well, this is what I'm
like,
yeah, this is what I'm asking for.
yeah. Yeah, so I think, we could probably also make an internal list as well.
That would be really helpful for me.
Hmm.
Yep. There are some, to that point, there are also, and I gotta be careful on this, but I use a field manager for Verizon whenever there's a down line in my single member district.
I was gonna say a lot of our, and you hit it, Bruce. I mean, so Carol, a lot of our contacts we might not be able to put on that public list, but because
Not a public list. This is just between
well,
us.
I know even internal. I mean, you will find out and you will develop like contacts that are the backdoor contacts. Like Michael Zeldin was famous for that. He could call people in DPW, DPR, they would show up in like 5 seconds. I mean, Michael Zeldin was like the master of that. So we can do it. But some of the contacts, yeah, might not want to be disclosed. But yeah, go on, Bruce.
So the short answer is yes, and I'll be glad to help on that. And there are some of these names that list is really good, by the way, that the OANC sends out. So that's an excellent starting place.
Yeah.
And that'll answer 80% of the issues that you'll encounter probably, Carol, in terms of needing to reach out to agencies. There are these other names with utilities in particular, not DC agencies, where I can help you. I'll provide those names, and so you'll have them.
Thank you.
And then whenever an issue comes up, of course, just hit everybody with an email and say, hey, do you have a contact at XYZ? And because I need to do something, and we'll try to provide that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, so Bruce, you gonna tackle that? So that would be a good document to put in the OneDrive, and then we could add to it. You know what I'm saying? If you like put it in an Excel format, then post it up in OneDrive, share it with everybody, and then we just start adding. And then if anybody needs to retrieve it, then it's situated on the OneDrive and you could go get it. Easy access.
And if there are people who would rather their names not be on that, then we just maybe need to have an offline conversation.
Okay.
This is a starter. Carol just sent you the 2024 liaison list, and this is a version that was sent around, that Lisa sent around in mid-December. So there may be
Yeah.
a more current one. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
right. Christian Pinheiro was not on the list, and I just saw right away that there are a bunch of names that I even know, not even being a commissioner, that, weren't on the list.
Comprehensive list.
Christian Pinheiro is not on the list, I think, because he switched jobs.
Oh.
Same for Kendall. So the list is older than their new jobs. I saw the comment that Laura had made on the chat about that.
Christian's still in the job. He and I
he's still in the
Different job.
Yeah,
He is on the job, but he's not in he's not in the same job he was in.
Oh, okay, well,
That's my point.
He's the liaison for DDOT for Ward 3.
Yes.
Right.
I
Yeah.
understood. Right.
Okay. So meetings, really important. I don't know if everybody knows, just to be real quick, Luis is not going to be able to continue on with us. So his help with us at the last session was the last time. He's a grad student and one of his classes is at the same time as our Monday meetings. So we really need to talk about, I believe, the switch to virtual. I got an email from Bruce where we were discussing some things and he has some good ideas on that too, of ways that we can maybe increase the engagement. It's bittersweet for me, but I'll tell you, I'm just, from the workload of this commission, I cannot do it. I can't go out and set up. I can't barely take down. I mean, this is like damn near 12-hour days, just on commission work, not family work, not paying my bills, tending to my son or my husband, just trying to keep this commission afloat. and not even what I'm doing in my SMD. I cannot imagine keeping in person, you guys. It's a lot. I mean, and it's not just the equipment setup, but it's also letting people in. It's hard to run a meeting, and you guys have like had a couple meetings now where you're constantly looking at the computer and you're trying to let people in. Even just something that simple for me, maybe not everybody, but for me, detracts from the meeting. Like if I'm really trying to follow and listen to the topic and listen to the speakers, and then checking the chat. So all the little things that come into play when you're in a virtual or a hybrid setting, losing Louise is a big loss for us.
I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to raise
I love it. It's so cute.
I was trying to raise my hand. Sorry. Sorry.
It's cute.
That's not what I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me try this again. I'm listening. Sorry.
Okay. But we can, I definitely want to hear what everybody says, but I'm just kind of like sharing my perspective as like trying to chair. And like going back to what Peter said, when we were all virtual, it was still difficult because at that time we went through a lot of, we took a pummeling from the public about not answering questions in the chat. I cannot, have you seen our chats? There is no way that I can chair a meeting, pay attention, monitor the meeting, monitor the agenda, monitor time, answer questions, and look at the chat when a question comes in every time and respond. It's impossible. So regardless of which setting we go to, it's going to be challenging for us. But, I personally feel losing Louise, to me, I'm just ready to go virtual. Because the in-person meeting setup and what he was doing that helped us get there was so important. And I just don't see, us as a commission being able to replace that. We have, we got people struggling to do the basic stuff. And that's a lot of extra work that we just don't have people to do. So I think we just have to make we definitely need to come to some kind of consensus. And, like Bruce said, this would be something that we would have to vote on and I think take to the community at a meeting, and also hear community feedback. But we got to really make a strong consideration for where we probably want to go. So with that, let me go with Carol, Peter, then Liz.
Yep. So what I'd like to say about this is I'd like to make a stab for having in-person meetings. I don't think, and maybe, and not do hybrid. I agree that once you start getting virtual stuff involved, you get so distracted by the technology, you can't have a real conversation. I'm from New England. In little towns, they have what's called a good old New England town meeting. Everybody gets to stand up and talk. My husband and I travel extensively on business, my husband's business. We've been to millions of little meetings, like let's say Italy, okay? You go to a town in Italy, the whole commission will stay till the last person in town has his say. They will sit there for hours and every single person gets to talk and they won't go home until the last person has had his say. I'm not suggesting that we do that, but I think it's really important for people to be able to, you really miss something when you're not in person. When you're in person, you can engage, you can see people's expressions better, you can kind of engage with them, you can persuade them more easily. And I just would, I don't know, my feeling is that I think it's, I think it's really important to have as much community engagement as possible, not less. To me, having longer meetings is preferable to having shorter meetings, and and having more meetings is preferable to having fewer meetings, and having in-person meetings is more preferable to having just technical meetings. But that's, I think that's what people would like. But I do realize that there are people who live here who can't get to a meeting. So,
It's tough.
it's tough. That's all.
But I do like your point because and I won't speak a lot on it. I want to hear from everybody else. One of the things that I will also say is when we were virtual, we had a lot more issues with the community. We had a lot more interruptions. We had, people that we had to mute. I mean, it was rough. Gosselin can tell you, it was really, really rough. We had the things that were put in the chat was just crazy. I mean, and yes, people have a right to say, I don't like this, but I mean personal attacks, like calling out a person, saying their name, and then putting really, really, bad stuff in there. We actually had someone in the community contact us about redacting the chat because they went online and Googled themselves and saw this stuff in there. So it's really tough. And I say that to say, when we got in person, I really felt that in a virtual environment, people don't know you. Like every meeting, people will come up to you. As you see, they'll come up and they'll talk. And I was like, why did you vote like that? Like Lee Schonecker went up to you, Liz. Why did you say that? I mean, it's like
Yes, I know.
they will actually come to you. And that's how you form relationships. That's how you come to understanding. That's how people see you're not, the mean psycho commissioner, but you actually have legitimate reasons for your point. It does bring back a whole ton of engagement and community environment that is just absent with virtual, and that is really, really scary and problematic for me. I didn't think about in-person only absent the virtual, but I would definitely support that. Gosselin, Nagy, Sherman, Simmons.
Yeah, I want to also claim a piece of New England since I'm from, well, my mother was the moderator of the town meeting. I also want to say that I agree with Carol that one compromise would be going back and forth between a virtual one session a month and an in-person only one session a month. I think that but I'll just tell you that when we came out from under COVID and we kept trying to do virtual, besides the problems that Lisa just described, we came under an immense amount of pressure from people to get back to in-person. And I suspect if we go virtual only, that will re-emerge over the coming months. So we ought to have some plan to deal with it.
I think Bruce has suggested that. Am I right, Bruce? Going back and forth?
Yeah, but go ahead. Let's hear everybody out. I'll come towards the end. But yes, I subscribe to that view, Peter.
Liz?
With that, I wanted to mention that one of my jobs in my many weird permutations of what I did was I ran webinars on health issues for like 10 years. And so part of that was monitoring the chats and asking and allowing people to speak, letting them have a microphone and stuff like that. It can work. It's hard, but it's not impossible. You need to be able to kind of read the tea leaves when you're doing that. You need to have some well, for me, I mean, this was healthcare. I needed to have some in-depth knowledge of what they were talking about in order to be able to figure out what people were wanting to ask. But that was how those sessions worked. We had 150 people attend those sessions. So it can happen. It can work. I'd be in favor of alternating. I'm definitely I would like to have an in-person meeting camp as well. So if the way to do that is to alternate between in-person and virtual, I could support that.
Yeah, I think on, whatever we do on the virtual side, the duties would have to be divided. Somebody be responsible for letting folks in, somebody responsible for checking the chat, maybe somebody, checking, checking the chat and saying this, you got questions here, there. We can, divide it up. Corinthia?
Hi, so I just wanted to say our community is very multi-generational, and I think just sticking to only in-person meetings excludes a population of people who wouldn't be able to attend. So for instance, those who don't go to in-person meetings. I attended majority of our ANC meetings because they were virtual. We got to think about people who have children. And I just think today, even at work, we have in-person and virtual meetings. So I don't think I feel like it tailors just doing in-person only, it just tailors it to the same people who just comes in person. And I think having the virtual option can allow maybe some parents to attend because they can be on the call. I will volunteer to let people in. I already see that Laura has volunteered to monitor the chat, but I just think going in person only, it's like we talk about, we want to engage with our constituents. Yes, online isn't very personable, but it still allows you to be able to stay connected with the community. That's how I got involved. It was virtual. So I just don't want to exclude people just because some people may feel they do everything in person. Not everybody does that.
So can I ask, I'm not sure I understand what exactly, you want the meetings to stay hybrid. Is that what you're suggesting?
I would like them to stay hybrid. However, given we don't have anyone to set up, I think we stick with virtual until, you guys get your admin assistant that you need. Then we go back to hybrid.
Thanks.
Bruce?
Yeah. So Lisa and I did have an exchange on this. I've suggested that we go virtual. I could support being alternating. Another way is to have us do virtual and then have us host quarterly a good old fashioned town hall meeting in which we do it only in person. And we're talking about letting people come and speak about whatever on their minds. We obviously can fashion an agenda around some issues that are important to the community. So it's also issue driven. We can talk about how that would work. So that's sort of what I had suggested, Lisa, to you when you and I were exchanging email about this. Let me note a couple of things. We're all aware of this, but just for context, 15,000 residents, a good meeting, even if it's virtual, has 60, 70 people. When we do our in-person, as we have been the hybrid, you guys have witnessed, we have 20 to 30 people in the room. So we have to be mindful of what, so to speak, the return on investment of our time is here. We're doing this for 20 to 25 people who, oh, by the way, tend to be the same people, many of them. Now, it's not that they're not important people. They are, to be very clear. Everybody is important. I'm simply talking about the level of effort that goes into the outcome that we get. And even with Luis, in the best of tech circumstances, as we've witnessed, we still have many people saying they can't hear, because invariably people in the room don't go to the mic. Well, we tell them, please go to the mic. So they start to complain online they can't hear, or people don't identify themselves. They don't know who they are. So those issues go away with a virtual only meeting. We don't have these technical problems. We don't have the setup issues. So I'm suggesting that we do honor people's need to be with us in person. Again, we could alternate meetings, or we could do all virtual for our meetings, and then we could do quarterly town hall meetings. In any event, if they're going to take place in person, I will volunteer to find the locations. I want to get away from the community center. It's depressing, the acoustics are terrible, and we have an engagement opportunity of going to Ingleside, Knollwood, going to St. John's, going to Chevy Chase Presbyterian. The institutions in our community would welcome us. I do meetings now at St. John's, and so they've welcomed us to come in. And so I'm advocating that, we get out into the community, do that in person every quarter if we want. Otherwise go virtual, or we could alternate. But the second one, I would argue, be in person. and not try to make it a hybrid because we go back to the same problems with it.
Carol?
No, the only thing I just wanted to say is that, you know, there are some older folks who don't do the computer thing, you know, but they also don't show up in person. So it's hard to know, right?
Right.
It's hard to know what to do with older folks.
Yeah.
Well, by
Okay.
going to Ingleside and Knollwood, obviously we would be right
Right.
there with a lot of.
I love that. I mean, to be honest, I like your original proposal, Bruce, and I would like for you to draft it up, and you know, we could put it on the agenda because I think it's, you know, it solves a lot of issues, and it does do the honor for, you know, solving the issue on the virtual, but then also getting us out in the community. And I really like bringing our meetings to, you know, our resident senior facilities. I just, I think
I
that's
think it's
perfect.
I think it's a great idea. And also, if they're like quarterly town halls, we're not voting on anything, we're not presenting on anything. So people are able to vent out their grievances. And also, it should hopefully have other meetings go better because it's less time to, you know, go into our agenda of airing out those grievances.
Mhm.
Can I just ask, is that okay, you guys? Yeah. That's great, and I'm happy to go to Ingleside and Knollwood. I'm Ward 3, so if we could try to, I know this is a heavy lift, and I will also look. I'm not sure where this could possibly be, but maybe I don't know, someplace.
Chevy Chase
on-
Presbyterian is great. They have a great,
Yeah, so something that's not, you know, kind of far into Ward 4, so that people feel in Ward 3 they don't have to schlep to Ward. No offense, I'm schlepping.
Yeah,
I'm happy
because
to come to Ward 4.
4 has
Yeah.
slept to Ward 3 for like
Well, I
20
mean, that's
years.
we can alternate, right? We can share the joy / pain
Are
of
you kidding
moving
me?
around. Yeah. So, Carol, what did you say? National Presbyterian?
no, Chevy Chase Presbyterian.
Chevy Chase
Remember
Presbyterian.
that the dump it meeting they did? That was a really great meeting. I mean, the content wasn't so great for me, but
Chevy
the
Chase Presbyterian is on
Yeah.
Jennifer
Right on the
Street in
circle.
Connecticut.
Yeah, right on the
Yeah.
circle.
And they
Oh, on the
said they
circle.
would host us.
Okay.
They said that. And you know, Carol, the mayor's office did all the tech, and I asked them immediately. I mean, it was beautiful.
It was a good meeting. Yeah.
It was.
There's also, Blessed BS would be happy to host us, but again, periodically, the Duffy Parish Center has a big room, so
Okay.
we could do.
All right. Well, we can, Bruce, you're going to take a look at this, right?
Yeah, I'll write up, as Lisa suggested, a one pager.
Okay. So we could.
All right. That's
Laura, did you want to weigh in, Laura? We didn't hear from you on this.
Yeah, I did. Thanks. The Zoom timer app, I had looked at some actual physical timers that might be really good to work if we were doing it in person. That were just, you know, like big, almost like clock radio looking countdown things that we could use. But I think if we're going to do virtual, there is a Zoom timer app that looks pretty good, but you have to go into the Zoom app marketplace. And when I go under my dots, where is it here? I have an apps button down at the bottom of my screen here in this Zoom, but when I go, it says authentication has failed. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anybody else can open that apps button, but there seems to be, it exists. I've seen it on Google.
I'm getting something essential.
like,
I have a list of apps. Yeah.
you get a list of apps. You don't get
I do.
authentication failed.
No, I don't.
Can you share your screen? Are you allowed?
I don't know how to do that, but I'm happy.
There should be a green button at the bottom of your screen that says share screen with a little up arrow.
Going too deep, folks. We need to get that.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Well, let Laura, why don't you and I work on that? Okay.
Okay, we'll just have to make sure we get we have the password, Lisa, for the meetings. So
Do any
Liz,
Zoom, right? We could do.
Liz and I can be like in our own Zoom and practice with this thing.
Oh, you have the password.
Yeah, okay, you didn't have to change it or anything? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so why don't we do that, Laura? You and I will play around with this and see, unless anyone else wants to join in, welcome to do it.
Bruce?
Yeah, just another quick thought about something we can talk about in greater depth later. So I want to park it, but it's important to note here, and that is the single member district community meetings that we hold on issues that are germane to the entire ANC.
Yeah.
So the one I did last week on lead pipe replacement, Peter participated in that. It followed on Sean Moore presenting very briefly at our December meeting, Lisa.
Yeah.
And he had Sean for a full hour. We had 20 odd people, lots of questions, lots of in-depth discussion. So when we think about how we want to not only allocate time, but also spend time with the community, let's fold into this consideration at some point these meetings we have that everybody in the community can be invited to, even though one commissioner hosts the meeting and runs it. So Laura, if you wanted to do something on Lafayette Park, right, just to talk about, and many people in the community might be interested in it, it would also take some of the pressure off of our regular meetings if it's going to be just informational and discussing with city officials and we're not going to vote on anything. So I just wanted to put that in the mix too for future conversation.
Got it. Corinthia, then Laura.
Oh, so that just I had my hand up on another discussion that I didn't get to talk about, but cut the light on. But as topics and agenda items, like if people schedule meetings for their single member district areas, can they just give notice to everyone so that we can inform our people in our single member districts to attend? Because I think I missed the opportunity to invite people to your lead one. And then I didn't get to say it when we were talking about the agenda, but I like having notice on topics that's going to be on the agenda versus last minute, because that doesn't give, I feel like we spend a lot of time. Like for me, I need to at least be able to say, hey, Lisa, what's going to be on this topic so that I'm prepared, because I think we'll spend too much time trying to ask questions to get prepared on agenda items. So I don't know where we ended with the agenda items on the OneDrive and updating it as needed. So if we could just give people time for items that we intend to talk about instead of just like last minute.
Yeah. Okay. Laura?
You're gonna have to come back to me. My train of thought flipped.
Okay. So the other one I wanted to discuss, I think, is Liz, did you want to talk about you had mentioned about the meeting starting earlier?
Yeah, I mean, and it sort of goes hand in hand, thank you, with, so my concern about people having 60 seconds, when we say 1 minute, it sort of clouds the fact that 1 minute is actually 60 seconds to talk. And for those of us who've given testimony before the council where you have 2 minutes, it goes fast. 2 minutes goes fast. So 1 minute goes really fast. So I'd like to try to increase people's opportunities to say what they want in a reasonable period of time. I don't personally feel that 1 minute is long enough. I'd like to give people 2 minutes. And I understand the time constraints that people have, commissioners have. So I'm hoping that we could start a half an hour early. I think people can make it to the meeting at 6:30, and we can do it from 6:30 to 8:30 so that we actually have 2 hours for people to have access to their elected officials. And just real quick, Laura, I was not able to, I needed a password to download it. I tried, just to let you know.
Okay.
Laura, did you have a comment on the time start?
Not on the time start, but I remembered my other question. If we do, like, I want to do one single member district thing about the erosion project, say for Lafayette Park. can we use our ANC Zoom and then post them if they are Zoom, if they're not in person, or if they're hybrid? Can we ask that those be posted to the ANC
Absolutely.
website? So then and like get Bruce, if you can get your, would you be willing to put your turf town halls up there? Just like, I think it would be just a great resource to have a one-stop shop.
So we have our YouTube channel where the Turf Town Halls and all of our meetings are recorded, and that's where we refer people to for recorded meetings.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that by and large, I don't want to be disparaging of our website, but few people go to our website. If you want to get a message out to people, you need to flag it. We need to put it out on the social media channels and so forth, which isn't to say we don't post for the record things that pertain to the commission on our website. I totally agree with that. But our YouTube channel is actually fairly well frequented. If you have you been there, Laura, to the YouTube channel? Yeah. So
Never
just
heard of it.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay. That's where we post all the meetings. And if you do a single member district meeting, yes, you can use the Zoom account. I use my own Zoom account because I have one for business purposes, just to have a SurveyMonkey account. But you can use the ANC Zoom account. And then when you do that, the AI functionality of Zoom does a very, very nice summary immediately so that you can then the next day distribute the recording and the link and the password, and people can also see the summary. So it's a super efficient way of following up with people after you've done a meeting.
Gosselin?
Laura, I caution on this. I mean, clearly we all are going to have issues that are SMD only. But for issues that are not just informational and ones that you think are going to get to the full ANC, come to your fellow commissioners and say you want to do a session on X. I know, for example, on Lafayette Field, you have huge concerns and you've been deeply involved, but you're going to want our votes on that. And so hiving it off as an SMD only, I mean, look, you're welcome to do it, but I mean, ultimately these issues have to come back to the full commission.
They do, but I mean, like if we're talking the erosion project and DPR is going to give us only 3 meetings, and one of those is to give, their kind of dog and pony show, and one of them is to the final dog and pony show, then we really only have 1 engagement. So, but people might be there for an hour or two. I don't see how I would get an hour at an ANC meeting to have that kind of, to get citizen input about what kind of plans they might want to have. Like if it's more like a charrette where you're getting input, do we have time for that in a regular ANC meeting?
Well, I just say, I think it would be more powerful if you ultimately, one of the weapons you have now that you're a commissioner is getting all of us to vote that, what they've done is inadequate, and bringing us along to show it's inadequate is a powerful way to get our votes. So for what it's worth, surfacing big issues, important issues, particularly ones where you want to muster the support of the full community via us. Surfacing them at the ANC level is very important earlier on rather than later.
And it doesn't mean that it has to be done like in an ANC meeting. I mean, it could be a town hall hosted by the single member single member district commissioner and endorsed or sponsored by the ANC. Something like that. But that way, the SMD commissioner can kind of take the reins, and the commission can kind of be in the wing supporting what they're doing. Bruce?
No, I subscribe to sort of all of the above, but and also it's not either or, which is to say the following. I think that if Laura does the erosion project and we as a commission know she's doing it, then we should participate in hearing it. We should welcome that Laura's doing this. Now, Peter's point holds, of course, the commission ultimately as a whole would have to vote on anything that the commission is going to have to vote on. But a lot of this is giving enough time for the community to weigh in, ask their questions, just as we saw in the lead pipe thing. And we are not going to have enough time during one of our normal commission meetings, given the press of business that we experience, to do this. So my thought, and there's more to this, we can park this also, is that we have kind of a working model of an ANC in which we have distributed authority, distributed power, distributed activity to the single member districts that we all get an opportunity to participate in. So if you call that meeting, Laura, I will attend. I mean, I will attend and be informed and understand what's going on. And if there's anything I do over here, everybody's always welcome to come to these meetings. And we should see these as ANC sanctioned meetings, even if one single member district commissioner is organizing them. And then if anything has to be voted on, obviously by the full commission, they come up to a meeting. But this actually engages our community, empowers our commissioners, distributes responsibility to take on difficult, problematic, complex issues, and we actually leverage the power of all 7 of us in a way that I think we haven't done in the past, and we could actually do really well, if any of this makes sense to you.
Yeah, and there's models. I mean, there's is it 4B? Yeah, I think 4B that does this quite a bit. That's a commission in Tacoma Park. So there's some precedent for it in some commissions that really do it and do it pretty well. Okay, I think that sounds good. Now that we're at 8:50, what do you guys want to switch to as a priority? We don't have much left on the agenda, but the strategic planning might take some time. Peter, you wanted to do the new tools, committees, website.
We ought to, I think, for Bruce, I mean, so much of how we do this next year or next 2 years depends on getting an admin. I wish we could. I mean, we have just for the new commissioners, we have run up to the notion of hiring an admin, and then are overwhelmed by other business. And I just before this meeting, I looked back to one of my ANC internal folders, and I think I have 3 folders on admin where we were like talking. We were almost going to do it, and then we didn't. So, how do we get this over the line?
Well, let me say this. If we can switch to admin, but we got to go in closed session and we have a community member on. So I'd rather go to closed session after we talked about everything that community members can hear. So if we want to talk, for a few minutes about something else, the admin part is not going to take that long. We're going to go over the resume, the candidate, and, I would definitely like 1 or 2 other people to kind of assist on that. But we know what we need the admin to do. We have a very well-written job description, a very well-written announcement. So we know what the duties of the admin are.
Sorry, Lisa, can we have Peter brief on the web update? Because for my selfish purposes, as going kind of interim webmaster, as it were, I'd like to know what the schedule of completion is for that before I go into the current site and start monkeying around with it to try to do whatever improvements I can do. I want to wait, obviously, to do any major things until that's done.
I can do that very briefly, Bruce, which is I think we are several months launching. I've circulated a mock-up, but the real work here, besides editing what's out front, is the machinery and back. And if we get it right, your life, whoever the webmaster is, their life is going to be much, much simpler. I mean, one of the maddening things about this archaic WordPress version of WordPress we're using now is that you have a meeting page, you have to pull documents up into media, you have to create a meeting page, then it doesn't port over to what's new, to a post that comes up front. It doesn't show up anywhere else on the thing, but it's going to be several months. So I think that you're going to have to use the current system. It could be 3 months. So I think I think it's sort of it's going to take getting used to just the basics of the old system a few months.
So a couple of questions on this, Peter. And I just don't know the background. Why does it take so long? Websites are created overnight in a lot of places and populated, and I'm kind of at a loss to understand why this is so prolonged.
Well, ultimately, I'm the wrong person to ask this, but I was the wrong person to do this job from the get-go, right? I mean, but in this sense, the right person in that I'm not tech savvy, and there are going to be future commissioners who are not tech savvy who are going to have to use this. Part of the problem is that although much of the day-to-day stuff that is done is relatively simple, we have these huge archives that have to be moved over. Part of the problem is that what we want to do is we want to have a sort of one-stop post, so that, for example, when Liz's minutes are ready and they've been approved and they've been signed, you stick them in one place and they go to the archives for minutes, they go to the appropriate meeting page, and so on. You want, video, you post video, it posts to the YouTube web channel, and it posts to the meeting page. Again, look, maybe I'm being pessimistic here. Maybe, I mean, I think we have a very good contractor. I think she's been hanging fire because I've been waiting to get feedback from people and haven't gotten it. I kind of sort of just pulled the trigger and figured we just got to get on with this thing. So I think she's beginning to do the work again after having mocked it up and sent it around. But I don't think the idea that you can just wait, just a couple of weeks where we sort of fell out of sync with getting stuff up. I mean, I was like, I was backlogged with the Murray Task Force stuff, the Transportation Committee's annual report, this stuff that just piles up, and if you don't, and minutes, by the way, I'm way behind on minutes, getting them in the right place on the site. So.
Well, just since I'm taking over these responsibilities, could I have a conversation with this contractor so that I understand what she's doing? Is that?
Sure.
So in other words, I'd like to just like jump in with this with both feet and kind of take this up and try to figure this out in whatever knowledge handover transfer you need to provide, so that we can move forward on this, because again, I will learn and I will do whatever I need to do with the current system to populate it with new information in the meantime, no question. But I'm just trying to gauge other things I might want to do by way of when the new system would be up. So I tell you what, if you don't mind sending me her contact information, or maybe just doing an email introduction, I'll talk to her and then see, has she been billing us? Are we on, how much money do we have left on it for her?
I think we've only paid 30%. We paid an initial 30%. I don't think that we have made any of the other two payments. It's a $10,000 contract, I think, and I think we've made one payment. One just point, because we were so tied up with issues during the summer and fall, we weren't able to give her the time to give her feedback on the design she came up with. So her contract is nominally up. She has sent me a draft extension letter, a no money extension, and we'll have to approve that, I think, at our next meeting. But
we should probably have a meeting with her to go over, you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to hold my hand up to take the bull by the horns on this thing and wrestle it to the ground and try to get this thing up as soon as possible, because we all agree the website currently is a mess. We need to figure it out. And if she's on contract and has been waiting for us to deliver things to her, I'm happy to figure it out, basically, with Peter handing off the knowledge of what we've done so far. I'll talk to her and we'll just try to get it done.
Okay. And then at some point, let's set up a Zoom. I mean, even if it's, just the officers or me, but I definitely want to kind of get up to speed on this, this as well. Okay. Carol, and then Corinthia.
Yeah. So let me take my hand down here. So I started off the meeting by asking if we could amend the agenda to have a brief discussion about the standing committees
Mhm.
and to discuss having perhaps a separate meeting in the very near future to discuss them at length. And this is my opinion. I think that we should discuss whether these committees are still necessary and either dissolve them or reconstitute them with very new, very narrow tasks, and completely new members with strict oversight by the ANC. I believe that the standing committees and their membership should not outlast the ANC that created them. I believe that we should switch from standing committee mode to task force mode. I believe the ANC should assign only precise, narrow, limited tasks to a committee. Committee's work should have a time limit, a beginning, and a defined end. The committee should be required to issue a report detailing its work and its findings at the completion of its task, and then be dissolved. I think the standing committees have taken on a life of their own, outside, in many cases, outside the purview of the ANC. And for example, today, someone from the Transportation Committee posted the agenda for the next committee meeting on the Chevy Chase listserv. Item number 3 is, quote, set committee goals, objectives for 2025, unquote. But isn't setting goals and objectives for the coming year the purview of the ANC? To me, this committee is acting like it's an ANC, and there's not even an elected official on the committee. And in addition, I believe that we should limit how many times one person can serve on a committee or any number of committees to allow for fresh ideas and different perspectives from various members of our neighborhood. Thanks.
Corinthia?
So my comment was going back to the website. When the ANC had their training sessions, they mentioned that they were developing websites for all ANCs. So I'm just wondering if we're being not efficient, if the OANC is getting websites for all the ANCs.
Yeah, that's a good point, Corinthia. Something we should look into for sure, because there is an economy of scale to that, and maybe some ready-made assistance, kind of plug and play. And the other thing is that the archives is, well, we can talk further about this. We don't have to go down all the details right now.
Yep.
I was just transferring that to whoever's gonna do their websites. Yeah. Touch base with ONC about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the committee discussion. So I don't have a problem with looking at the committees. I can tell you race committee was set up that way. Race had a very specific agenda and specific tasks that did come down from the ANC. And a set of recommendations that they have been working on. Has everything that occurred inside, the race committee aligned with that? No. Transportation committee, I think one of the issues, and I'll just be honest, and this isn't to offend anybody, but we had that chaired by a new commissioner, and that might have been a mistake. When you're working with committees, you really have to, and I agree on the premise, things have to come back to the ANC. They have to. Our bylaws are really pretty clear. If you go look at them under committees, they talk about, appointments of chairs, appointments of members. It states in the bylaw that the direction comes from the ANC, or that the committee is supposed to, and this is not exact wording, bring their direction to the ANC, and the ANC is supposed to approve, or something to that effect. But it's structured in a way that the ANC has a lot of oversight of committee work. And I think that is honestly where we're struggling. So
I mean,
I don't mind having, the discussion.
we have to determine. I think we have to determine whether a committee's job is done. You know, I think we've given, maybe the committees had too wide a view of, where they were trying to work on the whole world. I would much prefer that they be given a very specific task, like work on the buses, work on the bus, get a bus system going. Not all transportation, that was too big. It got too many members involved. It metastasized, and a lot of animosity came out of that. I think if we target our tasks for these committees, and give them a start date and an end date and a very clear instructions on what we're asking them to do. And then, when their task is done, we dissolve the committee. They write their report, we dissolve the committee, and we move on. But it seems like we've got these committees that are just kind of standing up. Now they're just there, and they're growing, and now they seem to take on a life of their own. And now we've got people, like I mentioned today with this transportation committee, they put, their own agenda on the Chevy Chase listserv, and they're at their first meeting, they're going to, item 3 is set committee goals and objectives for 2025. I mean, who is this person who's doing that? And who gave, I mean, shouldn't the ANC be doing that? Shouldn't the ANC be saying, if we want a committee, these are the goals we want you to?
I think it's a two-way street. I mean, I think, I look at committees and people that are on committee, they're the experts in some of these areas. I mean, I don't know the bus system like these folks on the committee know the bus systems. So I think when we're talking about setting the strategic goals and objectives for the committee and the ANC, to me, it's got to be a two-way street. I mean, they're going to have some ideas. Those ideas should come to the ANC. The ANC should have some ideas. And the bottom line is the ANC makes the ultimate decision for the committee.
Right.
And, whether we want them to work on Global or Connecticut Avenue, or like my folks today they were really off the chain with Oregon Avenue and bus and transit. So it was just a transit day in my area. But I say all that to say that we do have to get the committees more in aligned with the ANC. We got to do that. And it takes work from the commission to do that. And I don't think we've done probably the best job that we can do in that arena. So just to say that, the conversation is probably warranted. Liz?
Well, Corinthia, do you want to go first? It's up to you.
Sure, I'll go first. So I just wanted to add, I think some of the committees are important and should continue. For instance, Murray, that is a task force. That's something that's going to end once the field is completed, as well as zoning. But I think for raise and transportation, that's always something that's going to affect our community, especially if Hawthorne, Barnaby Woods do not have buses. Connecticut Avenue, it's always going to be transportation issues, and that transportation covers pedestrians. So I live off Connecticut. Connecticut is bad. You all may not know that or experience it if you don't come up here on the avenue. When I lived in single member District 2, I rarely came up here. I always stayed back that way or Silver Spring. So I think those two committees are two important committees that I don't think we should dissolve, especially given the political climate now, especially given things that happen at school with like non-anti-racism speech. So I think those are important things. And then the last thing I'll just say, the committees never have an opportunity to come before the ANC. The committees rarely get an opportunity to get hit on the agenda. So the meetings always go over, agenda items always go past. So there's never an opportunity for the committees to even come back. So I think if we prioritize that, and these are important issues, and I'm saying that as a son that goes, racial and social equity is very important to me, because I've had community members say I am a poor Black single mother, and that's not me. Y'all may not feel that because it doesn't happen to you. You may not be called the N-word, but this it's important. And until you have those lived experiences, until you're concerned about your child in school because people in the neighborhood say and do things to your child because of the color of their skin, it's still important. And some of these beliefs are continuing on for generations and generations. And it's important. It's very important. And just because some people don't experience it, I don't think we should disband it. So that's just my 2 cents. And I think we need to prioritize the committees on the agenda.
Liz?
Um, um, I am on theoretically the Transportation Committee. I think it has way outgrown its mandate. I think the people who are on the Transportation Committee, by and large, think of themselves as commissioners. I don't think they feel that they report to the commission. I really think it's a problem. I would like to see the Transportation Committee dissolved. I would like to see them given tasks to do when we feel that there are tasks to be done. I think that they think that they're legislators, actually, which isn't even what the commission does. They've done a good job on some of the things that they've worked on. I give them credit for the better bus. We all should. I'm just reading Cynthia's comments. I would say that when I was not a commissioner and I wanted to be on the committee, I was vetted, okay? I was vetted to see if I was going to be appropriate for the committee, for the Transportation Committee. And I found that really offensive, I have to say. I think we need to bag it and do it as a task force when we have something that we need for them to do. I think the commission needs to guide the committee, not the other way around. And I think that's what's happened. And we need to get a grip on it and do this differently.
Well, this is definitely not a discussion for us. Because one of the things I told you guys at the beginning of this meeting is I spent all day on a community chat and it was about transportation, it was about bus, and I could print that out for you. I can tell you 3G01 in no way, shape, or form is going to want to disband a transportation committee because that is
GO1, what's 3G? Oh, you're sorry, SMD. Yeah, sorry.
They're not going to want to disband, and they're not going to agree that a transportation committee has done everything that it's set out to do. There's always something to do in transportation, especially in this community. And some of the things that I hear, and with due respect, as new commissioners, working with these committees takes time. And some of the issues that you guys have raised are valid issues, but they're also process issues. And I would ask that you don't let the people that are currently, I have no idea, that are currently in the, currently on the committee to color your view of the committee. Because you got people that maybe you don't agree with or maybe you don't like, and there's definitely some animus with some of the committee members or some of the things that they've done. A lot of the things that has been raised are things that are in our control. Plain and simple, they're in our control and they have not been done. So we gotta separate that. I will never agree that, especially with transportation and also with, race and social equity, that's continuous work. And, there's things that have gone on that we would have never have done as an ANC, without the work and the expertise of those committees. So I do think we need to have the conversation. It has to be a community conversation because you're going to have to, with my community, you're going to have to to vet. You're going to have to get them to say that this is okay. And I just know that they're, especially with the transportation issue, they're not going to agree to disband a committee. Let me go to
They
Bruce.
don't have to.
You're right, but that's how and
You don't have to vote to disband it, Lisa. I mean, it's one vote out of 7.
Hang on, please don't
Okay.
overtalk. I'm
Okay,
just
sorry.
giving you my opinion. And my opinion is that transportation is an extremely important issue to my community,
Agreed.
3G01. And they spent 2 hours talking about it today. And I know, and part of why they were talking about it and sending me so much stuff, and this is a neighborhood, this is a community chat in Hawthorne, is because they know I'm testifying before WMATA. And they were like, here's what I need you to know. So it's really important. So I'm just saying, I right now I can tell you I'm not going to vote to disband transportation. But let me go, and I just want to, Carol, I see your hand. I want to go to, unless people give up their turn, I want to get commissioners that haven't spoken yet. Goslin, Sherman, and y'all can give up your turn to Carol and Liz, but they have their hand raised too.
They can go. Peter?
I was just saying, I think Bruce was before me, so go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Peter. You know, no worries. Go ahead.
Well, I to Carol and Liz, some key things you said are absolutely right about the standing committee. They have periodically strayed into being, the expression is imperio in imperium, or maybe my Latin's got it backwards. Powers within powers.
I think you're right, actually.
What's that?
I think you're right. I'm hearkening back to my high school Latin, but yeah, I think you're right. Anyway, yeah.
Would you consider it an adequate solution if no committee could operate without a chair who is an ANC commissioner? Now, I know your first reaction to that is that you didn't like the chair of the.
My first reaction.
It's not about
that. It's not about
this, Peter. It's not about not liking. We don't understand what the job is. What is their mandate? What are they doing? What is the Transportation Committee's job? What did we ask them to do?
Right.
Seems like we asked them to work on the bus thing. Well, it's in WMATA's hands at this point. What did we ask them to do? Their job is done. If we want to ask them to do something else, we can reconstitute the committee and give them that very narrow task and say, now work on bikes. Okay, you did buses, now you work on bikes. You start on Monday and end in 3 months. Give us a report. And then when you're done, we'll have this as a reference. Thank you very much. And that's it. We just don't understand what the job is that all these committees are doing.
So let me say this, Peter. One of the things, Carol, and I hear what you're saying, and I think that is a communication issue. First of all, there's 2 things you're saying. I think that's definitely a communication issue between the committees and the ANC. You should know what they're doing, and their mandate should come from us. Absolutely.
So what did you ask them to do? This is what I'm trying to find out.
It doesn't even matter what we ask them to do, because that's the past. We're in 2025 going forward. What are we in this commission asking them to do? Secondly, and when I say about, the transportation issues and their job not being done in terms of transportation, they worked on the Best Butter Working Group, but a lot of people in my community today were talking about, and they are terrified of their kids. One mom just, started, a discussion. These routes are going to be implemented. And when those routes are implemented, we are going to continue to have problems. Now, I, as a commissioner and I as chair, I will admit, I never went to a transportation committee meeting because I didn't know when the hell they were meeting. It was really hard for me to kind of keep up with them. But I went to a meeting, and one of the things that I learned was, which I didn't know, that they were reaching out to schools to figure out what the schools were doing in terms of the new routes, which are going to be 30 minutes for the schools, kids taking, transportation up to the schools. that's going to be a continuous issue. So some of the things but that could be something that we say, like from the ANC, we want you in terms of bus transit to continue to work and monitor the impact on our schools. So it's not that I don't want people to think that since they submitted the WMATA testimony, it's all said and done, because the major problems are going to come after these routes are implemented. And and one of the things that they were talking with, and I thought it was a great idea. I mean, I got a lot of kids I'm on the furthest end. So our kids are going to be the latest to school. And one of the kids has already gotten 4 tardies. Their family is livid about that. And they got tardies because the bus was late. So we're still going to have issues that we need them to work on. But you're absolutely right. That mandate should come from us. So I think there's a way, and the only thing I'm saying is I think there's a way that we could take them by the horn and rein in and do what we need them to do. And then they have a choice. Their choice is either stay on a committee or go. But I definitely, I don't think anybody's disagreeing. We probably have our ideas about how it could work, but these are, especially I'm just like kind of really hard on the transportation because I'm in the back end and we really kind of suffer. I mean, this part, and we talked to the mayor about this and the mayor agreed, we are a transportation desert. I mean, that's pretty much what they all agreed to. So it's never going to go away for us. We're going to continue to need to have folks to fight that fight for us.
And could I just reclaim my time for 1 second? Carol, another thing that's true of our transportation system, as opposed to any other major city, is we don't have dedicated funding. So, this every year, this is going to come again and again and again. It seems to me that we need to clamp down on the committees. And look, some of this, we live in a small community. These are small. We're a small voluntary organization, and these committees are small. Some of this stuff comes from the loopiness of some of the people on the committee who so want to be involved, but they kind of go right over the edge with their involvement. And we need, because we have so many issues coming before us, we have not done an adequate job of reining them in. But if you have an ANC chair, you have a commissioner who is required, we could make a double requirement. No committee exists that isn't chaired by an ANC commissioner, and no meeting occurs without that commissioner being there. You start doing the reining in that you want, I think. I mean, let me just say, as a sacrificial lamb, I mean, I'm happy to declare zoning, design, and development a fiasco. Whatever my own contribution to that, this community has had so many divisions about that members started saying, I won't come to meetings unless that person doesn't come. I mean, so it sort of blew up on its own. But if you want a sacrificial lamb, there's one for you.
I'm just gonna, because I know there are 2 other speakers. I just want to say that things just can't go on forever. I'm sorry. Transportation will always be important. Race will always be important. But they have to have a specific task. Otherwise, they are this amorphous other agency floating out there that, what are they doing? It's
right.
Anyway.
And we can develop those tasks.
Right.
We can do that.
Why don't we call them task force instead of standing committees and give them discrete assignments?
Narrow tasks
rather than I'm going to solve the problem of transportation in all of 3-4G.
To me, it doesn't matter what we call them. You could call them the moon, but there's still, to me, the bottom line is there's work that needs to be done.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Yeah, that there's work that needs to be done, and that we have the right people doing the right work. That's how I look at it. If it's a standing committee versus a task force, as long as they're doing the right work and we have the right people doing that, I'm okay. Bruce and Liz got their hand up. Whoever wants to go first.
Bruce, why don't you go? I'll wait.
So Very good discussion. We need this as a fuller discussion, as we're saying.
Yep.
But we've drifted into it. I've got 3 questions on my mind about committees, and that is, again, echoing what others have said. What is their charge?
Mhm.
In other words, what are they to do? What are they to do that I am not already doing? And then what other work do we have to do that we haven't even contemplated that could be a committee or a task force? And if you give me 1 second here to share, can I share my screen?
Wait a minute, hang
A
on.
request.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got currently a survey running in my single member district that I started the year with, which is asking my constituents to tell me how important a dozen issues are to them. And the reason I do this, obviously, is to make sure I'm not missing something that's really important to people, right? And I don't know relative to one issue compared to another how important things are. So I asked them about public safety, traffic safety, transportation, environment, education, the proposed redevelopment of the Civic Corps, residential overdevelopment, because it's been a big issue here in my single member district, housing affordability, racial and social equity, quality of district services, public utilities, parks and recreational facilities. So I tried to be fairly expansive in the categories of issues that I asked people about. The number 1 issues, and this is, I'll show you that in this particular survey right now, we have had 191 people respond. They are 90% of them in my single member district. I have a few people on my email list who are not in my SMD. It skews older, as you can see, but in the 35 to 44, you had 34 people. In the 45 to 54, you had 36 people. So it's not only older people. And 55 to 64, 37. But again, it is the case that I have more seniors in my single member district than any other SMD, so it doesn't surprise me here. And I'm showing this to you because this is still open. I'm still taking, allowing people to respond to the survey. If I go by this and I try to say, what do I need to be spending my time on? And therefore, what might there be in terms of other discrete issues in our community that we might want to create a task force to examine? I could use the data here, the input that I'm getting from people to help inform that. Not exclusively. I'm not arguing that we do it exclusively. But for example, if I were to sort this by way of education and I were to sort it based on the 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 group, the education goes off the charts. And why is that? It's because of overcrowding at Lafayette. Now, if I want to say there's an issue in our community that we need to be focused on for my constituents, that's one. And I could see putting together a task force that would work with this. And Laura, it's her SMD, but I've got more kids. I shared with you guys the demographic data that I just got at Census Bureau data from the Office of Planning, sorted by SMD. I not only have more seniors, 603, but I have more kids than any other SMD. So I really want to be focused on this issue of education, and it shows up in this, particularly when I sort it. So I wanted to use this just to highlight the point. We can talk a lot more about this. Are there other tasks that we would have for a task force or for a committee that we've never even come across yet, right? So when we talk about the committees, again, my 3 questions: what are they to do? What are they to do that I'm not to do? And what would we have to do that we haven't even established a committee for? Right? So anyway, just to put that out there, and I'll stop sharing.
Jocelyn and Liz, then Peter.
Okay. I'll share a little story with you. And Lisa, I've told you how I feel about the people who are attempting to run the transportation committee. Right after I was elected, I was told by Cal Simone that he would be co-chairing the transportation committee. And I said, what if I want to chair it?
Can I interrupt 1 second? Because
Yeah.
there is someone who's on the, can I interrupt 1 second? There is someone who's on our call. We're talking
Oh,
about
It's
personalities.
Laura.
It's
Oh,
Laura.
okay.
Oh, it's Laura. She
Put it in
had
the
to,
chat.
she had to go to her phone, I think. Right.
Okay, she signed in both on her computer and her phone then. Okay, all right. I just thought maybe there was
Laura,
another.
are you in both times?
That's
We have 8
Laura.
people, 8 participants. If it's Laura on her
It's
phone,
Laura. Yeah,
Peter can
It's
explain.
Laura.
Be sure.
okay.
I think this is how I unmute. Is this unmuted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I had to go pick up my son from practice at Jackson Reed. So I'm coming back in to the computer in just a second.
All right,
Sorry.
no worries.
No
That is-
worries. No worries.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
and
no.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Laura. Excuse me.
No, just the beauty of technology. All right.
Yeah, right. So imagine my surprise as an elected official being essentially told by somebody on the committee that I couldn't be the chair.
He has no authority to say that.
Well, and it cannot stand, Lisa. He cannot be allowed to do that.
Who appoints the committee chairs? The ANC.
Well, why did they both go on the web saying they're co-chairs? And who's going to rein them in? And if you ask me, their strategic vision ought to come from us, not the other way around, right? So now they've put it out to the community that they're going to set the strategic vision for the ANC on transportation.
Right.
And
So-
that is absolutely backwards.
Okay, that's easily
Okay.
solvable.
Well, let's solve it.
disagreement.
I mean, the meeting is next Thursday. Let's solve it before that. And I don't know how you propose to solve it, but maybe the way to solve it is to go on the listserv and retract that.
Peter? You're on mute. You're on mute, Peter.
I'd like to see if we could bring this part of the meeting, actually, I'd like to see if we could bring the whole meeting to a close, but I mean, I'd like to see if we could bring this piece to a close by reminding people we cannot vote on this. And that these committees were formed in full meetings before the public. So what we should take up these proposals of Carol's and Liz's and put it to a vote. I'd just say 2 things, my final words on this. Carol, you've said several times, what do they do? Well, they developed this issue of the issue of WMATA and what the bus desert issue. And they did it while we were occupied with a series of very hot issues during the summer and fall. And so the idea that they have, that we don't assign them every little task, but that we say, in this general area, keep us informed, seems to me to be useful. I absolutely agree with you. They should not go rogue on us and start making public pronouncements about those issues. But the notion of giving people some leeway, it helps us. It involves more of our residents, and it gives us an eyes and ears we don't otherwise have. And Liz, to your point, you're absolutely right on the formal substance of it. But honestly, communities are made up of all kinds of people. Pal is a kind of person. He desperately wants to get involved. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes in statements, sometimes in following me out after the meetings and wandering, putting me home. That's his involvement. And it's kind of life in the community. So.
Well, can I respond to that for a moment? Cal is an unusual person, and everyone is who they are, and I'm cool with that, actually. Probably more than most people who run into him. I just think that somehow, some way, they need to have a reality check. And I will say, people keep talking about community engagement. I did not feel, when I asked to participate in the Transportation Committee, that I was welcome, because my views were not consonant with, and I'm just gonna put it right out here, WABA, okay? So I was not welcome. I was vetted. I had to ask permission to be on the committee. And I was not happy about that as a citizen and as a resident. I was not happy about that. And now to be a commissioner and to be told that someone else has more sway on the committee than I do, I'm not happy with that either. And I'm going to let it go there for right now.
I would just like to say that transportation should not be a blood sport, okay? It's not adversarial, right? Everybody wants buses. That transportation committee to me is scary. If someone asked me to chair it, I wouldn't. There's been so much nastiness and shenanigans going on with that committee. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I think we need to narrow the mandate of what they're doing, give them a time limit, and change the personnel. That's my recommendation, my strong recommendation. Thank you.
Well, I think, this will definitely go on an agenda. I'm thinking maybe we got a lot of stuff on the 10th, maybe the 24th. And in the meantime, I think we need to have a separate, meeting with the chairs. And I would include Murray.
People who think they're the chairs, excuse me, Lisa, right?
Or the
They're
chair.
appointed. Well, some committees have appointed chairs. So Murray has a chair.
Yeah, but the Transportation Committee is not
he
one of
hasn't
those
appointed
committees, right?
So, I mean,
Who appointed them?
the ANC. I just said that they don't have appointed chairs.
Okay, sorry, I misheard you. Sorry, misheard
There
you.
is no appointed chairs for them right now, but we
Okay.
still need to have a discussion, whether they got a chair or not. Because we, there's a lot of work that we need to do. So, I'm just trying to think how we might want to structure it up until we get to the 24th. Because I do think too that we need to let them know that this is a conversation that we're going to have and what we're thinking. So I don't want the people to be blindsided on that.
Can I just say that the Transportation Committee has the intention of meeting on the 6th, and they have self-avowed co-chairs who have put themselves out on the listserv as co-chairs. And somehow before the meeting on Thursday, they need to be told that they're not co-chairs and to stop doing this.
And they're setting their agenda. I mean, it's weird. It's like the ass is running the back of the horse is running the front of the horse. I mean, it's ass backwards,
So if committees don't have an agenda, what would they talk about?
It's not for the committee to decide what their agenda is. The agenda should be coming from the ANC.
We haven't met on that. So I think the committee should continue until we have our ANC meeting to talk about it on the 24th.
When is our next ANC meeting?
It's actually the 10th, but we got a lot on that agenda. I don't think this is precedent over what we got, but you guys can decide that.
Okay.
This would be a very time-consuming discussion.
Yes, it would be.
It's almost the topic of a special meeting, as much as I hate to say that.
It is a special meeting.
You're not going to do it justice in 15 or 20 minutes or even a half an hour of a normal meeting.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely a special meeting, and
Okay.
And as I say, I think
That's good.
it's important for me, from where I sit, to identify other issues where we would want to bring not only expertise, but time and attention and focus on matters before the community that are pressing, that we're not even talking about. As I just flagged in the data that I have gotten, this is feedback from my constituents. I mean, it's not coming out of my head. It's what they're telling me is important to them.
yeah, and mine too, transportation.
No, I understand. And yeah, no, but the thing about transportation, Lisa,
I don't need data for that.
No. Well, I understand. Transportation is important to everybody. We've worked it here ad nauseum with Knollwood, as you know, and it's been a very important issue. It's still very important here, but there are lots of other important things. The other issue about transportation is that in the focus thus far for the Transportation Committee, it has been around matters like buses and a little bit bikes and other things, but we all know that the Department of Transportation encompasses a wide range of things. I mean, in the time of this past 2 years, and in a good part of the time that the Transportation Committee has been working, I've negotiated capital, bike share stations. They just built one at the corner of Nebraska and Utah. Just put the pad in this week. We've got bioretention beds. We have the massive stormwater runoff issue on Moreland that's going to be a $30–40 million project that I'm working with Department of Transportation on right now. In other words, there are so many things we do in our single member districts with DDOT that have nothing to do with the Transportation Committee per se. So we need to be, again, back to this point of being focused. We do need to be focused and give them direction on what we want them to do and let it go from there.
Yeah, and I think maybe maybe even if we, and obviously everybody can be involved, but maybe if we break out, a few of us to work on the topic and kind of see how we can structure it, because I do think before we meet, we need to look at the data. But Bruce, we just got it from your SMD. I mean, that would be a great survey to have ANC wide to open it up.
I offer it up, and I offer it to anybody who wants to run it. It's ready to go. It's been tested in my SMD. There haven't been any methodological problems with it. So yeah, I'd offer it to everybody. I survey here all the time.
Can you redo it so that we have all SMDs in there and we're just using one survey link?
That would be great.
Can I suggest we use Microsoft Forms, the avenue that's provided by the ANC versus SurveyMonkey?
We can try that, Corinthia. It's just that I have a facility for SurveyMonkey and it works incredibly well. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing that, but it's just it's designed as a survey tool. Forms, we can talk about it. I'm open to different modalities. I just know how to use SurveyMonkey so I can turn surveys around very quickly.
Okay. And one other thing. I know Carol's got her hand raised.
No, I'm done.
I'm sorry. How are we sharing, or Bruce, can you share the data? Because we need to park that survey data on the ANC. Something.
Yeah. So this is what I do, as you guys know, on an ongoing basis with my community. I constantly survey them. So I'm asking them about their views on a million different issues, and I'm guided by what they tell me. So I will share it with you for sure. It's still open. So I don't want to publicly release it because I'm still letting people respond to it.
Okay. Carol, did you have another comment? Okay. Do y'all like the idea of maybe a few of us kind of like really, really thinking this through and, just like long term? I don't want us just to think about the committees like right here and, put those other people aside, put everybody aside. How do we want our committees to run? How do we want them to communicate with us? Almost, like an SOP for committees. What we have right now in the bylaws is a guideline, of what committees should be doing. We might need to even go back to the bylaws and look at, what the committee structures are, things like that. But just a more long-term view of how we really want the committees to function for us, irregardless of who's there. So when we come to the meeting, we're as refined as we possibly can be refined. I don't know. Laura?
Yeah, I'm thinking back to when can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked on the lighting task force with Becky Madak, and Becky was a commissioner then for SMD04, my same district. And she, she was the chair. It was a task force. It wasn't called a committee, but she would basically call the meetings. Anybody was open to anybody who wanted to come, but it was kind of a general, I'd say about 8 of us who were pretty regular. And then we would kind of divide tasks up for the next time. Becky would go talk to agencies and she would call the next meeting. So it was kind of hub and spoke through Becky. And then when it came time to ask the ANC for action, or we had some information, Becky would kind of get it on the ANC agenda, and then we could come talk, or she would often deliver the information from the committee. But we were kind of, I don't want to say her minions, but we would do a lot of the work, but she kind of consolidated it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Liz, did you have your hand up? Did you
Just,
take?
with respect to the upcoming transportation committee meeting, I'm sure can imagine that I want to go to that. It's gonna cause a little bit of a kerfuffle unless we do something to talk to Michaela and Cal before then. So I don't know how we want to
I
handle
mean,
that.
so
Well, he's as much as told me that he doesn't think that I should, be involved. It's none of my business. Seriously.
okay. Cal is Cal.
Yeah,
Cal
Cal is
has
Cal,
nothing
but
to do-
Cal is Cal, but I got elected from my SMD and he didn't, and I'm going to this meeting.
Well, there's no, I mean, as many commissioners that could attend should attend.
Please, yes. I mean, I
What
welcome.
are they gonna do? Kick you out of the meeting? I mean, I'm just like, okay, so if they get
I don't
mad-
want them to have the impression that they continue to run the show. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay,
I plan on being
I'll
there.
make the point.
Just
when
let
I-
them know you in power. It just let them know you got the power. You were elected. Democracy elected you. Keep it moving.
Yes, thank you, Corinthia. I totally agree with
I
you.
will I'll talk and I can't do it this weekend. I can do it like
I'm
I'll
happy to
set
do it.
something up with Cal and Michaela. And we can address I didn't see what they posted on the listserv, so I'll go back and look. But yeah, we'll get that straight.
Lisa, if I
Thank
could
you.
just come back to, again, kind of a grounding thing. It just occurs to me, if we as a commission take a few steps back and ask ourselves, what are the acute problems in our community that we do
I
not have
agree.
expertise to address? What are those?
I
And
agree with that.
therefore, how do we need to bring together on a fairly finite, restricted basis, a group of people with commissioner participation to address these problems? And we then identify what they are. We can't have 50, we don't have bandwidth for that.
Yeah.
But we might have more than we currently are doing if we look at the problems. But I think we should be problem focused and then take it from there. I myself wonder, now that you have authored and we have approved the letter to WMATA on the budget matter, and the Better Bus Network is signed, sealed, and delivered with maybe a few tweaks in the margins, maybe, and the budget letter is out of our hands because we don't have any authority over budgeting. What remains to be done on buses beyond what they're currently doing? I don't know. I'm just posing it as a question. But anyway, just what are the problems and what do we need to do to bring expertise that we don't have, if anything? Maybe there are problems we identify that we as commissioners in our single member districts feel that we should be responsible for because they're happening in our single member districts. In any event.
Okay.
Hey, whatever. We will discuss it. We will hold a community meeting and we will take a vote and we will move on. Right?
Are we going to talk about the administrative
To
assistant?
your point, though, there is some intellectual work here that needs to happen. We need to think about what
we have to, right?
Yeah. What are the problems that we need to address? Right.
We absolutely have to do that work, because I don't want us to go into the community like this, because regardless of what our decision is going to be, there are going to be some seriously hurt feelings, regardless. So we got to present the best case that we can present, right? So if we say we want something disbanded, why? We're going to have to say more than we don't like the people there or they're not doing a good job. We're going to need to make a good case about it.
It needs to be about the job, not about the people. It has to be about the job.
I agree, but what's come up, honestly, Carol, is a lot about the people too. I mean, we've heard a lot about the people. So
But-
I'm just saying we
but I
gotta
think
put the best case.
the people came up because this group was given such a wide, expanse
Latitude.
cover. So it just went all over the place. And then the personalities, got all weird up. If you have a very narrow task for somebody, we can't get all these intrigues going. The task is too small to have intrigues, right?
I agree with you, but I just, when we present the case to the community, we got to build a case
Yeah, I agree.
one way or the other. We have to build a solid case
What
because
we would say, presumably, Lisa, is that right now within the transportation area, this is the problem we're addressing. And we want to have the folks that are either currently working or others come in to address that problem, that it's not a personal issue whatsoever. In fact, we should continue to do whatever we can to commend the people who work so hard on the bus issue, because they have done great work.
Believe it or not, I would agree with that.
we do, Bruce, but you've been here, you've heard the discussion, and part of the discussion has been, we've called people out. And they can go back to the tape, just like we can go back to some of their tapes. And all I am saying, I'm not disagreeing partly with anything that anybody has said. I am saying put the best case before the community. And to me, that excludes all that. It shouldn't even come up. It should be, this is what we want. This is what we expect. This is how we want to run it. And I honestly believe that we could come to an agreement on that before we get to this meeting. But we gotta plan, we gotta think about it, and we gotta think what our strategy is gonna be and what we really want as a new commission. We're a new commission. So I just don't want, if there's been any clashes or, things like that. But I agree on the process part of it. It's been very difficult. It's been difficult for me, to keep up with things and to know where some committee, I know really well, but some committees have been really hard to follow, and it shouldn't be like that on the ANC. So I'm in complete agreement with that. We have to rethink about this process, and we have to think very closely about it. Laura, before we wrap up.
No, I think that's fine. I'm just going to put a note in the chat. I want to make sure you get notice of this meeting, but we're good.
Okay,
So,
Liz?
real quick, are we going to talk at all about the administrative assistant? Like, are we going to?
Okay, yes, let me stop the recording.
Because that I
I'm
really
a
would.
drop off for that. I can't
Thank
stay.
you.